Прийшли окупанти до нас в Україну, форма новенька, воєнні машини, та трохи поплавився їх інвентар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російські танкісти сховались в кущі, щоб лаптем посьорбати довбані щі, та трохи у щах перегрівся навар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Приперли зі сходу до нас барани для восстановлення
великої страны.
Найкращий пастух баранячих отар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Хто води всяке озброєння різне, потужні ракети, машини залізні, у нас на всі доводи є коментар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Вони захопити хотіли нас зразу, а ми зачаїли на орків образу з російських бандитів, робить примар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російська поліція справи заводить, там вбивцю рашистів ніяк не знаходить, хто винен, що в нашому полі глухар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Веде пропаганду кремлівський урод, слова пропаганди ковтає народ, тепер нове слово знає цар.
Байрактар.
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 Yes.
The Leaf Spring Army sends its regards.
Hello, everyone. I'm the Enforcer, and I'm accompanied by Enforcer Matt.
And good evening, folks. It's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to day 1177 of the War News stream. And today we have very big news coming out of Ukraine and Russia. Today we're learning that Ukraine struck Russia's Belgorod region once again, as U.S. intel's warning of a major Russian offensive on Kyiv coming up very soon. And also, Zelensky rejects the Istanbul peace talks and has left Turkey. We have very big news today, and it's good to see you all once again.
And of course, we're going to be covering the past 24 hours of news from around the world, as we've been able to hear of significant developments inside of the Ukraine war, and also some minor developments inside the area of Israel, as well as the area of Central Asia. As we have been able to hear today that the Ukrainian armed forces have been able to conduct significant armed incursions into the territory of Kursk and Belgorod, and we've also been able to see that significant attacks that the Ukrainian armed forces have leveraged throughout the entirety of the oblast have caused significant damage to Russian relay and communication systems, along with Russian armed forces that are also in the region as well, including a significant attack on a Russian convoy near to the town of Veluki, which appears to have destroyed the entire convoy before they were actually able to get to any active front line. Meanwhile, inside the area of Turkey, we have been able to hear that the talks in between Russia and the Ukrainians have completely collapsed before they were even supposed to begin by tomorrow, as President Zelensky, now hearing that Putin will not be arriving and has not arrived, has decided to leave the country and travel to Albania to speak to the Albanian heads of state. Meanwhile, the United States of America has made it quite clear that it does not expect that anything beneficial will be coming out of these talks, and now the United States has done another complete 180 after saying that they were going to support and help out the state of Ukraine if the Russians seriously didn't consider peace in these talks. Now the President of the United States is saying, well, obviously nothing was going to result from this because I wasn't there, and really we need to try and get Putin and the President of the U.S. face-to-face in person to really end the war, and we're not doing anything until that happens, meaning that there has been a complete lie that's been put out to the public and the media that we've had to take at face value over the entirety of the last week. Meanwhile, we've also been
yes, I see you know your manipulation well. Good one, sir.
Oh, yes. And you, sir, are you ready to receive my limp peace talks? How dare you, sir? But moving on from that, we have also been able to hear that the Norwegians are transferring F-16s, and we've already been able to hear that some of those have been transferred at this moment, and we've also been able to hear of heavy Ukrainian armed forces action along the entirety of the Ukrainian front lines as they've continued to conduct defensives, and they've continued to hold the line through and through. Meanwhile, we've also been able to hear inside the Middle East that the Israelis are preparing to invade the Gaza Strip, and now the United States is saying that they are concerned about the humanitarian situation inside of the Gaza Strip, although it wasn't that long ago that we were going to turn it into a golf course and a high-end resort. We have also been able to hear that more sirens have sounded in the area of Tel Aviv as Houthi missiles have been continuously fired towards Israel since the United States left the area and the bombing campaign that was being conducted against the Yemeni Houthis. We have also been able to hear that Pakistan has received delivery of the J-35, a Chinese fifth-generation stealth aircraft, for the first time today, 6 months ahead of schedule, and we've also been able to hear that the United States of America is now laying claim to Bagram Air Force Base inside of Afghanistan, which has been abandoned by U.S. forces for about the latter part of around 4 entire years. Nevertheless, we have a massive amount of news to cover tonight, folks, and I gotta tell y'all that tonight is a massive night like any other. We have quite significant news, especially from the Ukraine war tonight, because the Pakistan-India situation has finally died down for a large part, at least right now, and it also appears that right now in the Middle East there's largely preparatory actions that are being conducted for the future ground invasion of the Gaza Strip as a whole by the Israelis here in the near future. So this pretty much just leaves us to focus entirely on Ukraine today, which is a very rare thing in the news recently. But moving us on into the significant news of the day, we were able to hear that the talks in between the Russian Federation and the state of Ukraine have ground down to a complete standstill and have practically collapsed at this point. We were able to hear that there was some questions levied at the Russian delegation that arrived, and a French journalist actually asked a pretty ballsy question: is your president afraid to show up? Speaking to the Russians about Putin not showing up to the talks that were supposed to be happening in between Zelensky and Putin, which we can see in this clip right here.
Zelensky calls your delegation a sham. What do you reply? Ваш президент бойся приехать.
Pretty serious
Looks like
questions.
he's scared like his boss. He don't want to answer any questions, and neither does Putin. So just run away. That's the answer.
He just turns around and run away. Also, this guy's face is quite literally like the straight face emoji. I've never seen a mouth that has been that perfectly flat. Like if you put a level on his upper lip, it actually would be level. That's pretty impressive right there. I've never seen anything like that.
So this is the water boy. This is the guy that Putin sent in replacement for Lavrov even?
Yeah, this is the assistant to the president of Russia.
Oh wow, that guy right there, he kind of does not look like he's a decision maker. The guy on the right over there also looks like he's very paranoid, like he's not sure if he's safe or not. So it's just a clown show, really.
I mean, really, it is an absolute clown show. Let's watch this again. So he runs off. And that was it. That was just it. So, nevertheless, the delegation did arrive, and right afterwards, we then got to hear that the Russians did state that this is pretty much just going to be a continuation of the talks that were conducted with Ukraine in 2022, which the Ukrainians so rudely interrupted the Russians on. And so, I'll read y'all the subtitles here, and then I'll let the video play. We consider these negotiations to be a continuation of the peace process in Istanbul, which unfortunately were ended by the Ukrainians 3 years ago. Note, the proposals that came out of the 2022 talks were widely seen by Kyiv as outright capitulation, meaning that the Russians are actually going into these talks with the exact same talking points they had in the latter part of 2022, when the situation was still stable for the Ukrainians, but entirely different nevertheless, and it appears that the Russians are now going to be going into these talks beginning here in a few hours with the exact same kind of talking points. But here's the actual statement made by the water boy of Putin here in front of global television channels and networks.
Мирного процесса в Стамбуле, который, к сожалению, был прерван украинской стороной 3 года назад, наша официальная делегация утверждена распоряжением президента, и она обладает всеми необходимыми компетенциями и полномочиями для ведения переговоров.
He sounds very enthusiastic.
Делегация настроена на конструктивный лад, на поиск возможных развязок и точек соприкосновения. Задача прямых переговоров с украинской стороной рано или поздно выйти на установление долгосрочного мира, устранив базовые первопричины конфликта.
Nevertheless, we were able to understand, based off the Russian stance and also the fact that it was the League of Water Boys that arrived in Istanbul, we were able to hear from the U.S. Secretary of State that he does not have high expectations for the Ukraine-Russia talks, meaning that we are already going into this before the talks have officially begun, understanding that there's going to be pretty much no ground to be made between the two sides here. But nevertheless, we were able to hear that the talks will be taking place tomorrow. Regardless, hell or high water, folks, we're going to have those talks, which we now understand are completely pointless. They're so pointless that Zelensky has actually left early for Albania. But there's Zelensky's plane right there heading to Albania. That's the end of that.
He is heading out fast, man. That thing is taking off. It's going to 30,000 feet. It's leaving.
He said, "This is not worth my time. This is absolutely stupid." And he left.
Fire up the jet. I'm leaving.
Dude, he said, "Call me Taylor Swift because we're going to be hopping around from place to place after this one. This is ridiculous. Rev that thing up." And then they went straight to Albania. Nevertheless, we were able to hear a statement from the President of the United States, and it was the one we were all waiting for, folks. The Russians are clearly not going to be making a deal tomorrow, and the Secretary of State is also saying that there will be no deal made. Nevertheless, we were able to hear that the president has put out a very strongly worded statement, and he said that peace talks in Ukraine won't move forward until he meets with Putin. And I don't know anything about the Russian delegation in Turkey. I'm not disappointed by it.
That's funny, though, because I thought that the entire situation with the U.S. president attending the peace talks was contingent on whether or not Putin was going to show up. He said, if Putin's going to be there, I'll be there too. So somebody was watching to find out if Putin was going. So that's kind of funny to claim ignorance, knowing that somebody was clearly watching the whole situation go down.
You know what, folks? This is actually such a stupid 180. This is one that I don't even think we predicted last night on the show, Matthew. Like we said, they were probably going to draw a new line in the sand, but they weren't just going to make up reality. So let me go to my Google My Maps here, to the one that we had just yesterday, which is right here. And let me go and get the specific markers that we had that had to deal with the situation. So let's see here. Oh, yeah, this one right here. The president said if Putin refuses a peace deal, the U.S. will provide Ukraine with support beyond what it can imagine. So, of course, we already had that going into yesterday. We also had, let me see here, there's oh yeah, here's another statement. Let's see. If there is no immediate direct negotiations between Ukraine and Russia, the United States will withdraw from the talks. We also had another one here. Let me go and make sure to get that one. Let's see here. Oh, yes, here we go. Let's see. Here we go. So, President Putin of Russia doesn't want to have a ceasefire agreement with Ukraine, but rather wants to meet on Thursday in Turkey to negotiate a possible end to the bloodbath. Ukraine should agree to this immediately. At least they will be able to determine whether or not a deal is possible, and if it is not, European leaders and the U.S. will know where everything stands and can proceed accordingly. So now, as of today, and also, by the way, he also added in the last part, I'm starting to doubt that Ukraine will make a deal with Putin, who's too busy celebrating the victory of World War II, and then went on to do that normal thing where he pokes the Russians. But nevertheless, out of all of these statements, and we have three of them here lined up directly from the President of the United States, and one directly from his Truth Social right here, out of all three of these statements, today's result is, well, obviously these talks weren't going to go anywhere because I'm not there. What was the point of all of this hype talk and all of this idea that hell is going to rain down on the Russians if they don't achieve something in Istanbul come this Thursday, if this was going to be the end conclusion? Where now we just once again conveniently move the goalpost for the Russians again, and then say, well, obviously these talks weren't really a serious one because we weren't there, so we need to talk to Putin directly. This is just getting absurd at this point. There's really just, there's really no way to justify it at this point, folks. Like, I can't really play a middle ground. That's just absolutely weak and pathetic by the president to sit there and make all of this hype talk, and it did appear that we were quite obviously going to see that there was going to be support going to Ukraine, and we were finally going to understand what the Russians were about. And now we are seeing that there is a complete reversal again, and we're now acting like none of these statements were priorly said by the president over the past week, and now all of those statements will be rewritten in the present day, and then we'll just go with whatever the hell we want, and then just keep on pretending like the Russians actually want to have talks. It's getting absolutely ridiculous at this point. But nevertheless, Zelensky decided not to attend the peace talks with Russia after Putin refused to attend. And a lot of people have been putting in their 2 cents on this one, and it seems as though everyone is saying that Zelensky was 100% in the right right on leaving. Others are saying that Zelensky should have attended, even if it's quite clear that nothing's going to be coming out of this, and some others are saying that they're on the fence about this. But Matthew, what are people thinking about this, and what are you thinking about it as well?
All right, so 76% of the audience said Zelensky was right in leaving before the peace talks were actually going to take place, while 16% said Zelensky should have attended for appearances, and 4% said I'm on the fence about it. And I'm definitely with the camp that said Zelensky was right in leaving, because there was no point in attending these peace talks because, for one, Putin's not even going to be there. Number two, Lavrov's not even there, and Lavrov was the appropriate person to attend. So if he's not even there, it's pointless. And the only other reason Zelensky might have stayed to attend these sham of a peace talks is to appease the U.S. president. But it's clear at this point that nothing Zelensky can do is going to appease him at this point, and it's basically going to be screw Zelensky each and every time. So that's disappointing to see that, because, of course, Zelensky actually responded and followed through with the request by the United States to attend these peace talks. He showed up and made a very good chess move, actually, by putting Putin in a corner. And now he's basically been, once again, the line's been drawn in the sand at a different point, and now he's been screwed. So not trying to be a defeatist here, but it seems to be very pointless to try to appease the U.S. at this point when it comes to that front, when it comes to negotiations with Putin, because it appears to be going in pure circles. But Enforcer, what say you?
I'd have to say I would agree with 77%. Zelensky was right in leaving. This was an absolute stupid thing today. We had Putin on the ropes. We had him cornered. It was going to become quite obvious and clear that the Russians didn't want peace. And now we've let Putin just slip away again. They're going to make absolutely insane demands tomorrow. And the U.S. is going to do absolutely nothing to the Russians in reprisal for that, considering that they have played the United States for months. We're now going to let the Russians keep playing us for who knows how much longer. It's getting absolutely ridiculous at this point, along with everything else. It is representing the United States in an incredibly weak way. I would actually say this is representing the United States in a weaker way than the prior administration, which already was moving us on into a fairly weak standing position against the Chinese and the Middle East. Now, not only are we in a weak position in China and the Middle East, we are also now in a weak position in Eastern Europe. It's getting absolutely ridiculous at this point. I don't really know where the hell it's going to go from here, because this is the most unpredictable administration that I've ever seen. We've only covered news during two administrations, the last one and this one. The last one was fairly predictable, and it was going to usually be the most minimal action possible, but usually with the right idea in mind. This current administration says one thing and does another, and we can't even really follow it. We can't even really analyze it, because on any given day, it can literally do a complete 180. Everything that had been said for the past week, if any analyst looked at it like we did, they would have come to the same conclusion that based off of the words that the president was saying alone, we were going to be quite obviously seeing that once the Russians made a joke of these talks, the Ukrainians were going to have full-on American support from then on. Now, today, it's entirely changed. Now we're seeing again the Russians can piss in the face of the Ukrainian state, as well as the United States attempt to actually end the war, and our response is to ignore it, overlook it, and then just keep on pushing for more peace talks. This is just... It is the stupidest thing ever. I'd have to say that whoever is pushing this forward has got to be absolutely brain dead in foreign policy at this point, because you can't run your head into a brick wall this many times. Otherwise, your brains are going to start leaking down the wall because you busted your skull open from running into it so many times. I would say, before we get to the point, because I'd say that we've probably suffered severe brain damage at this point as a country by running into this brick wall 19 times over the past 2 or 3 months, that we ought to stop, possibly go to the hospital and seek some national medical help, and then stop talking to the Russians, because it's getting ridiculous at this point how many times we're just allowing them a pass to keep on doing stupid stuff, to keep on avoiding peace talks, and then to just keep doing what they're doing. It's just getting absolutely insane at this point. But with that, it is time for us to move on into some other news, as we were able to hear of some other significant things that have been happening over the course of the day. But before we do, U.S. officials did claim that they knew nothing of the Russian delegation in Turkey, and they're not disappointed at all by the outcome, although we clearly made it out to be that if there was no peace arrangement, we were going to be heavily disappointed and we were going to start supporting Ukraine. And so a lot of people are putting in their thoughts on this, and it also appears that everyone is unanimously agreeing on this as well, that they knew knew exactly what the Russian delegation was going to look like and what was going to happen, and now they're going to act ignorant so that way they can save face and pretend like all of their statements didn't really have any weight or just simply didn't exist. Others are saying that they knew nothing truthfully. They really knew nothing truthfully. And others are saying that it seems like a misunderstanding. And that's only 2% of people who are saying that. But Matthew, what are people thinking about that? And what are you thinking about this as well?
All right. So on this one, about 78% said they knew, but they're now acting ignorant, while 14% said they really probably knew nothing in truthful sense, and 2% said it seems like a misunderstanding. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, they were clearly watching the situation of whether or not Putin was going to show up, because that was the contingent for the president showing up to these peace talks in Istanbul. So they clearly knew. They're trying to deflect now and act like they didn't know what was happening, but obviously they knew what was happening. And to say that they're not disappointed, that's crazy, because of course they just said yesterday that Putin was too busy celebrating World War II, and that they were disappointed in that, and that he wasn't focused on peace talks. So I think clearly it is obvious what's happening here with this. Hopefully we see another 180 tomorrow, and it goes back to, Zelensky's in the right, and he did what we asked, and we should give him what he needs. Hopefully it goes to that, but we'll have to see. But Enforcer, what say you?
I'd have to say I just gotta be honest, folks. Taking the mask off, I have no faith in the current administration to do the right thing at all when it comes to foreign policy. It's like a chicken with its head cut off running in circles. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They are probably going to continue to do what I would say is absolutely against American Western interests in Eastern Europe, the Middle East, and East Asia as a collective. And we'll probably continue to see that we piss away decades of foreign policy progress and achievements that we've been able to make because of absolutely poor foresight, poor diplomatic teams, and also poor follow-through and decision-making from the highest levels. The only way that I can describe this kind of stuff at this point is that it's absolutely cowardly. Like, there's no other way to look at it. It's not anti-American, and it's not pro-American. It's just cowardice in the rawest form, because someone who wouldn't be a coward would actually follow through on the words that they've been saying for about a week at this point, since Putin made it clear he was going to talk to the Ukrainians in Istanbul on the 15th of May, which is today. That would have been something that we would have followed through on. We have heard that we were going to just bear down on the Russians. If there is no peace deal, hell is coming for them, and Ukraine's going to be the one giving it to them. And so now we've made it to today. There is going to be no peace deal. We already know that before the talks begin in a couple of hours. And then we're going to sit here and say now, well, maybe we need to talk to them directly, and they're not going to, because Putin has made it really clear that he doesn't want to talk to the guy in the U.S. Because he believes that he's a fool, and he's playing him for one, and for some reason we just keep on acting like that's not the case. And if you keep getting played for a fool, you end up looking like a fool. I mean, that's just the reality of it. This isn't political, but this is absolutely asinine. When I say that I support American Western interests, that's whole on and wholeheartedly. When someone wants to become a coward and then say a whole bunch of really big trumped up stuff and then not follow through on any of it, that is portraying America in a weaker way than if we just ignored a situation and didn't respond to it at all. Because if we ignored a situation and didn't respond to it, at least it could be argued that it wasn't really popping up on our radar. But when we run our mouth like we're a meth head at a trailer park, that we're going to beat someone's ass, and then it actually comes around to the moment we got to beat their ass, and then we back off for the 19th time, it makes us look like we're the weakest country on earth, which is ridiculous because we're the strongest one on earth by every single empirical metric that exists. We're the strongest economically, militarily, and as far as unity goes, we're actually quite unified, even though there does appear to be some fracturing. We're still fairly more unified than the Chinese and the Russians, because we don't have groups going around blowing up F-15s on air bases here in America. The Russians do. In China, they have the complete different situation that most of the country is going through labor riots right now, or other kinds of riots over real estate situations, or there are major situations inside of Western China where they're setting up camps and there are ongoing insurgencies. Those things don't happen in the United States. We are actually more stable than any of our adversaries around the world right now, and so we're even strong in that kind of a way, and yet we never exhibit that, and we never follow through with that in any way with anyone in the world. We always act like we are the underdog, and we're a whipped puppy that's got to go tuck our tail and go run and hide. This is just getting stupid at this point. It is ridiculous. We should see But there is a complete reversal in foreign policy management here, because whatever this is the most brain-dead, weakest kind of foreign policy management I've ever seen. You would think that someone who runs their mouth like the current president would actually have some follow-through, because the way he runs his mouth, I actually appreciate the sentiments that he had for the last week against the Russians, and we were actually saying these look to be good sentiments, and it looks like America's going to be moving in the right place. And like always, the guy runs his mouth like half a wise guy, and then when it comes around to actually having to do something, we back off of everything, and we just act like we didn't say anything. And then in fact, he's going to start attacking people who bring up his old Truth Socials, which you can literally see them out there, and you'll say, hey, well, did you say that we were going to bear down the Russians? Who said that? What stupid organization are you? And it's like, well, you literally wrote it. It's not like we're lying here. It's actually damn clear as crystal. We said that we were going to go all in on the Russians if they didn't seriously consider peace. The Ukrainians actually did. They've done everything that they could have. There's nothing extra that they could do at this point, and the Russians are still playing us for clowns, and we've decided today that we're going to let them keep playing us as clowns. That's just weak. It's weak in every way. It was weak in the last administration that we didn't face down the Russians before the war began. It's weak in this administration that we run our mouths and then we do absolutely nothing in response as well. It's the poorest thing possible. And I feel like I beat that horse into the ground, so we'll move on from that one. But I'm with the large majority here. This is representing the United States of America as weak, and I'm heavily disappointed in the current administration for not following through and ensuring American interests inside of Eastern Europe, and much less the situation that's currently going on in the Middle East, where someone can give a 747 and pretty much just buy the government. So with that, we are going to be moving on into the remainder of the news tonight, as we have been able to hear in Moscow that it appears that the stock market is falling off. So we have been able to see that again. It does appear that the stock market is falling a significant amount of points again today, as the Russian markets continue to sell off, as Putin is revealed to be merely playing games, having sent a mockery delegation to talks in Turkey. It does appear that it is quite honestly not going well for the Russians, and it looks like even the Russian stock market brokers can pretty much see quite clearly at this point that Putin had no attempt at peace, and peace is, the continuation of this war is only going to do the domestic sectors in Russia worse, even if the U.S. doesn't do anything, which we probably won't. Meanwhile, we have also been able to hear outside of that, in additional news, that there appears to be some other interesting developments that have been happening around the world, as we have been able to hear that Norway is transferring their F-16s to the state of Ukraine, and they have completed the transfer of F-16s to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. They have plans to complete the transfer in 2025, and some of the aircraft have already been transferred, suggesting that Ukraine actually has a higher number of F-16s than we currently know of right now, which is hovering somewhere around 10. So they have more than 10 at this moment, where we don't know the exact number, at least at this moment. Meanwhile, we have been able to hear, speaking of aircraft acquisitions, that inside of Pakistan, they've actually received the brand new Chinese J-35, which we largely describe as a ripoff of the F-22 and the F-35. Let me go pull up a picture of this for y'all, so you can see what we're talking about here. It's an interesting aircraft because it's made by the Shenyang company. There it is. It kind of looks like an F-22 and an F-35 combined together and then just ripped off like everything in China. But nevertheless, it is one of China's fifth-generation aircraft that has actually been produced for export primarily, although it is going to be used by the PLAAF and the PLAN. Nevertheless, we can see the aircraft right here. It's a fairly interesting one. It doesn't look bad. Of course, it is a ripoff of an American design. So it does look a little quirky from some angles like this one. But beyond that, we have actually been able to hear that Pakistan has received delivery of their first J-35s well before they were actually supposed to get them, 6 months in advance. And we can actually see one of them flying over Pakistan right here in this clip.
Looks like a clunker, honestly. But I'll tell you this. I heard today that the U.S. wants to build a new version, I think, of the F-22. Is that the single-engine jet, correct?
That would be the twin engine.
Okay, so I think it might be maybe the F-35. Which one's the single engine?
The F-35.
Yeah, I've heard today that U.S. officials want to build a twin-engine version of the single-engine F-35. So I think we're going to try to build something that might be similar looking to this, because we were told today that the double engine looks better, so it's better to build one that looks better.
What?
Yeah, I'm serious.
Well, if they're saying they're saying build a twin-engined F-35,
Yes.
but the airframe won't allow for that. Like it's specifically designed for a single engine with a high thrust output. Like there's no way that you could design this fuselage to house two engines. Like there's
But they're going to somehow make it work. They're going to put two engines in the back. They're going to call it the F-55.
Are you kidding?
No, I'm being serious. Like I'm dead serious.
That's gonna throw off the center of it. Like that's just stupid. Like that's going.
It needs to be pointy because it looks more intimidating.
That's just dumb. I mean, that's going to throw off the center of mass, the center of it's going to throw everything off. Fuel consumption is going to be insane. Like, are they saying they're just going to put two of the current engine in each F-35?
Well, no, I'm assuming they're going to redo the airframe. I'm assuming because surely they can't put two of them here. There's not enough room for two. So they'll probably like rework the airframe a bit and add the second one. But they're going to create like all the capabilities of the F-35. They're going to keep those and build a like modified newer aircraft with two engines on it.
That just doesn't make any sense. Like the developmental cost of that is going to be insane. Just to pretty much make an aircraft that we're already largely planning on replacing, at least in air superiority, which this isn't, with the F-47. So it's like, what would the point be of that? I don't get it. I don't get it.
We said we wanted it, and we shall get it.
I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't really think I can add much more on that. And already because of the president's weak foreign policy initiatives, some people have already come in and tried to say that I'm political tonight, like I have to worship the guy. Although honestly, his foreign policy is the worst I've ever seen so far, and I already thought that we were at a record low with the last guy. So moving on from that. And on into our next bit of news, we also got another clip of the J-35 right here. Oh,
There's something about it that looks wrong. Like I can't tell what about it looks wrong. It looks AI generated or something. It just doesn't look right.
It's really a bizarre looking aircraft. It looks too thin.
Yeah, something about it just looks unnatural.
But nevertheless, we were able to hear that Pakistan did receive some of these aircraft today, and at the exact same time, the U.S. is also now claiming Bagram Air Force Base, as the president is now saying that the U.S. will hold on to Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan, stating that we will not give it up. I don't really know what that means, because I thought the whole thing was that we were supposed to be gone out of Afghanistan, so now I guess we're going back to retake Bagram and control an airbase that's going to be entirely inside of a hostile country, considering that it's now run by the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, aka the Taliban, so I really have no clue how that's going to be working out there. So I would largely tell y'all that that's going nowhere, because unless if we're planning on invading Afghanistan, which right now we can't even heavily sanction the Russians and provide Ukraine with more military support, I'm honestly doubting that we'll be ever going back and retaking Bagram Air Force Base, at least at the moment. And also, someone said, I thought we lost that. We did, and it's actually been out of U.S. control for about 4 years now. That is actually a part, like the rest of the country, of the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. So it's a little bit weird to hear that we're going to be attempting to retake that or trying to hold on to it, considering we don't have it to hold on to in the first place, or we'd have to retake it. And for what reason, I don't really know, because there's not really a lot of a point for us to force project out of Afghanistan, because we have India or Sri Lanka to possibly force project out of here in the future. So I'm not really understanding the logic behind that one. Or we wanted to as a last resort, we also have Diego Garcia as well, which we could also force project out of from a pretty significant distance. So don't really know what the point of Bagram would be, unless we're, I just have no clue, honestly. Like it's
also,
it's an enigma.
Also, Brian is saying, are we going back to Afghanistan? I really don't think they're saying to go back to Afghanistan necessarily. I'm really not sure what they're proposing, to be honest with you. But going back to get Bagram, once again, just to clear this up, just for everybody's knowledge, Bagram is the base that the Taliban took over that had all the equipment left behind that we allegedly scuttled, but it really wasn't scuttled. Some of it was still usable.
Yeah, that was the main base.
Yeah, so that equipment, which has been sold to other countries like Russia and other places like that, and also armed terror groups by the Taliban, that place has been under Taliban control for a minute, and they've also pretty much gotten all the usable equipment out, and they've been selling it and using it. So I'm not sure what we're going to do with that. Like, or what are we going to do? Go to war with the Taliban or something? Like, who is now recognized as the legitimate government of Afghanistan? That's a bit of a wild one.
Yeah, I don't really know what the plan would be, but it was Bagram Air Base, and it was also Kabul International Airport that had a significant amount of equipment in it as well from the U.S. military. This was actually near to the Green Zone in Kabul. That was one of the last holdouts before it collapsed. That's where all of you all saw the videos of thousands of people standing around the runways and climbing onto the planes as they were taking off leaving, was from this airport, which also had a significant amount of military equipment left behind as well. You can actually see a lot of the structures that were built for the U.S. military still surrounding the international airport to this day. So it is a little bit bizarre to say that we're going to go back to Bagram. And also the logistics of supporting and supplying an airbase that is going to be in the middle of a hostile country that we would have to re-invade to take this back doesn't really seem like a good idea to me. And I really don't know what the point would be. Nevertheless, we're going to be.
It seems like if we have an appetite for war in the Middle East, and we've all of a sudden found a hunger for it again, and we want to go in there and fight, it seems like we would actually finish the job in Yemen first, and actually send in the troops on the ground and take care of the Houthis first, instead of moving on to Afghanistan. Now we're picking a new fight with a different force, which is somehow oddly enough turned away from being the enemy, which was the Taliban, and now they've turned into a legit government. Even though in my book they're still terrorists, but now they're considered legit. But the ones who were attacking our ships, we let them go now. Now we're potentially going to move on to the Taliban, who is over there generally, surprisingly, minding their own business right this second, which is kind of strange.
I don't even know what the point would be to do that. It's like, if we want to bomb someone near the Middle East, it's like, why wouldn't we bomb Iran? Like, it's like I feel like they're a much larger threat. I mean, they are nearly creating a nuclear weapon. I mean, right now the Taliban is out there in Afghanistan. They're actually fighting with each other now, if y'all don't know. There's actually different factions that have now broken out of the Taliban and are now fighting the actual Taliban running the country. And also, they're just generally harvesting wheat. I mean, they've literally turned back into like a feudal society. So what would the point be of going in there and trying to regain an airbase from these people, considering that they're going to go right back to what it was during the war in Afghanistan? That makes no sense. So if we wanted to go and spill our blood somewhere for some reason or purpose, wouldn't it make more sense to do that against a country that's creating a nuclear weapon to directly threaten Israel and the United States? Or better yet, the Iranian proxies inside of Western Yemen, or inside the Gaza Strip in Lebanon? It's like, wouldn't that make more sense to deal with those threats that actually are imminent threats, rather than really picking on a country that is almost feudalistic in nature, to go reclaim an airbase that we lost 4 years ago? Like, none of that makes any sense.
Also, another thing as well, we just learned a lesson. Unfortunately, it was a lesson that we really did not need to learn. That airstrikes alone, you can't just go into, like, for example, Yemen and expect to airstrike your way out of a problem. It doesn't work like that. You can't just go there and do a half-assed response to the Houthis and expect it's just going to go away. It didn't go away, and now the Houthis were able to somehow get some leverage in negotiations and basically talk the United States out of attacking them any further, which is honestly a really bad result, because obviously the Houthis are going to go right back to it once they get some more encouragement from Iran and some more support from Iran. So it's just a bad look right now there. But we did learn a lesson, though, that if we're going to go in and do something, we need to be fully committed, or otherwise we're wasting our time, because the Houthis are still existing. They're still firing missiles at Israel, and it's still a problem. It hasn't been fixed. The only thing they've done is temporarily agree to stop, and they've done that before, and then they resume right again like they always do. So we don't want to repeat the same thing with the Bagram base in Afghanistan, because that would be requiring on the ground action, which would be even a deeper involvement. And if we're not committed to that and we decide to back out all of a sudden, that's another weak look. Don't want to do that.
And also, I see some people saying some other things about, well, the president actually said that Bagram Air Base was important to retake to counter the Chinese. Let me go show you all a Chinese population density map. Because this is a little bit more important when we're talking about how to counter who and where and what. This is the population density map. Or this is a good example of it. 94% of the population lives on the east coast of China. Only 6% of them live in all of Western China. Or here's another example of that. Or here's another example of that. So you can clearly tell that there's a lot more population density in Eastern China than Western China. So my question would be, why would it be so important to retake this airbase when pretty much everything in China that would be in striking distance is empty, desolate desert with almost no real strategic value. It makes no sense at all. It would make far more sense for us to bolster our island chain defense system that we created over the past decade and a half in between Japan and all the way down to the area of Indonesia. That would make a lot more sense because that actually is practical, and not only that, that still puts the U.S. within striking distance of pretty much all of the major population and industrial centers of China, which means that we would be in a very good standoff position instead of putting a whole bunch of air wings in the middle of nowhere to strike at nothing. And if you wanted to strike anything of value, you'd still have to fly over most of China, most likely, to actually make it to East China to strike the major targets, meaning that you're having to fly over enemy territory that may have embedded air defense systems in it, meaning that most of those aircraft would be shot down if they ever wanted to hit anything of significant value. So it doesn't make any sense. Like, it does not make any sense at all to me. And also, I see someone say, the nuclear facility close to it. That doesn't matter. It's not like we're trying to stop China from developing a nuclear weapon. They have hundreds of them, and all of those are also in eastern China as well. So does it really matter if there's a centrifuge in the middle of Xinjiang, somewhere in the middle of nowhere? Not really. Because as far as we're concerned with the Chinese, they already have nuclear weapons, so it's not like stopping their nuclear enrichment abilities is defanging them. They still have nuclear weapons. So there is no good strategic reason for going through all the laborious efforts to retake Bagram. At least in my opinion, it just does not make much sense to me. Anyways, with that, we are going to be moving on out of that piece of news and on into the middle of the East, because as you all know, we do have a lot going on here in the state of Israel, as it's become a pretty big topic these days. But nevertheless, the U.S. has warned, U.S. intel has warned of a major Russian summer offensive on Kyiv, which could be severe, and a lot of people have been putting in their thoughts on this one, and it appears that many are saying that this is why the Russians are stalling. Others are saying that it's overhyped intel, likely faulty, and some people are saying that they need detailed intel first. But Matthew, what are people thinking about this, and what are you thinking about it as well?
All right, so we haven't gotten to this news yet. I was hoping we were going to get to it in just a minute, but we're going to go ahead and address this one now. Just to repeat that one more time, U.S. intel is currently warning of a major Russian summer offensive on Kyiv, which could be very severe from the Russian side. And what are your thoughts? So 75% said this is why Russia is stalling the peace talks and playing the games that they're currently playing. And 12% said it's overhyped intel and likely faulty. And 9% said I need more detailed intel first. And I would say that based on the report that I did read today and also the news reporting and the articles I read, it appears to be that the analysts are believing that this summer offensive, which Russia is going to launch sometime in the immediate future, in the next month or 2 months or so, is going to potentially reach the outskirts of the city of Kyiv, which of course is a very disturbing thing to hear, because once you get that close to the capital city, things start getting really dicey. Even though the Ukrainians can push them back and push them away, there starts getting to be a very thin margin of error for the Ukrainian forces. So that is disturbing to hear, and that could be why the Russians are stalling these talks, because they're hoping to be able to get the jump on the Ukrainians, so that way the U.S. isn't sending all the aid that they need to defend against the summer offensive, and they keep stalling and prevent that from happening. That could be what they're doing here, and based on the current report, I would say that probably sounds very likely. So that makes it more imperative for the U.S. to jump into gear and actually arm Ukraine to the teeth before that summer offensive gets here. And of course, it's imperative to start doing that literally right this second so the equipment can have time to arrive. If we wait too late, the Ukrainians could find themselves in a tough spot. But Enforcer, what say you?
I'd have to say that I would agree this is why the Russians are stalling. I would believe the large majority is correct. We do not know how clear or corroborated the intelligence is at the moment, but it does appear that they are expecting that some sort of a Russian offensive will begin in Belarus and once again attempt to make its way to Kyiv, at least on the shortest attack route. We don't know if that actually will happen yet, but if it does, that may be why the Russian Federation is stalling in the peace talks, to see if they can pretty much put Ukraine in limbo until then, and then launch this major offensive and see that it may have a higher rate of success than would have been expected before. That is a decent likelihood, at least at this point, that that could be what the Russians are planning on doing and what's actually happening, because it does appear that the Russians are going out of their way to stall, and it's not really helping that the U.S. is pretty much allowing them to continue. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. And also, really quickly, folks, got to put this out there, because I see some people don't make the dissertation here. And so let me lay this out for folks really quickly. So this channel is a pro-American and pro-Western channel, and we don't delve into politics, but that doesn't stop me from saying that actions in foreign policy may not be within America's best interests, especially when I see one that's absolutely ridiculous, and especially when I see that lies have been made. We have done this plenty in the past on Biden and Trump, and I know that there are many Democrats and Republicans that like to hear the sugarcoating of their party and like to hear that the Democrats are gods or the Republicans are the best people on earth, but that's not how we do it around here. That's not how this channel is ever run. We have a specific idea and criteria that I personally laid out here in the channel of what American and Western interests are, and we largely analyze everything through that framework. So if you're expecting me to go and read the Republican or Democrat manifesto and tell you the news you want to hear, that's not how we've ever done it around here. We've done it this way the entire time. And especially considering that the President of the United States, the current one, said the complete opposite over the past week and is now backing off on all of that before the peace talks have even begun tomorrow, and is now saying that the talks weren't ever meaning anything and there wasn't really ever going to be any follow-through from the United States on anything. That is something that I'm obviously going to be very displeased about, because he actually was stating last week that he was going to follow through on ensuring and supporting American Western interests, and now today he isn't. Some of y'all might want to, live in propaganda land where, Biden can't do anything wrong and Trump can't do anything wrong, but I live in the real world where they both do things that are wrong, and this was probably one of the biggest oversteps, one of the largest oversteps that I've ever seen so far, and I'm not gonna let that slide on the channel as far as our coverage is concerned, analysis-wise. We were at the very cusp. We actually had the Russians on the ropes diplomatically right here. We actually had them in a corner to where Putin wasn't going to show up. They are going to make insane claims tomorrow, and then we say the talks failed and we're going all in on supporting Ukraine. And what we're doing in response is that now we see what we said was going to happen is happening, and instead of following through on the promises that we have made through the president's office last week, we're now going to back off on all of them and then pretend like we never said that. That is weakness at its core. You might want to pretend like this guy is an amazing, strong guy, but I'll be honest with y'all, I'll be frank with y'all. I thought Biden was pretty weak. Trump runs his mouth a lot, and he's weaker than Biden. That's really the honest truth of it, because I've never seen two presidents fumble foreign policy this badly beyond anyone else. And there's been a decent amount of fumbles that happened in the decades prior to both of them, and so far I've seen that it's just getting absolutely comical at this point. No one's going to take America seriously with these kinds of actions being made, because it's showing that literally everyone can just keep pushing America's boundaries, because we have no boundaries. We have the illusion of boundaries on foreign policy. That's just the truth of it. So if you don't like hearing that, I'm sorry, but that's actually what's going on here. That's the analysis of it. That's not getting political, because if this was Biden, I'd be saying the same thing about him. If this was Kamala, I'd be saying the same thing about her. But right now we have this guy in charge, and so he's making the poor decisions, and he gets called out for making the bad shots. That's how the analysis works on the channel. So if you don't like that, I highly suggest that you go to a real political commentary channel where you hear that the president, whoever it is just the greatest person on the planet, and they don't do anything wrong, and everyone's lying about all the things that they are doing wrong. That we just have never done that here, and I never will, and we're not going to be compromising on those values anytime soon. So with that, hope that does address that the best I can, and I hope that lays out the law of the land here. Once again, folks, do want to make this clear. We're not getting into domestic politics here. And someone's about to say, oh, you just talk politics. No, we're not talking politics, because we don't talk about stupid things on this channel like gun control and abortion and make that our giant speaking points of the night. And I'm also not openly saying that I'm a Republican or a Democrat. I generally find both of them to be loathsome organizations. So I personally don't want to get into that stupid game-playing situation either. What I'm doing here is I'm trying to provide analysis, and I'm trying to say, as far as our analysis, what is in America's interest and what isn't, and what actions are not in America's interest and which ones are. And these actions that we made today are very much against America's interest, because not only is it taking the wrong action, it's also portraying America as incredibly weak on a diplomatic field. So with that, we are going to be moving on from that little statement there. Just want to make sure to cross our T's and dot our I's there. But moving on from that, and into the remainder of the news that we have tonight, we have been able to hear in the state of Israel that the Israelis have come under attack once more by the Houthis, which have continued to fire ballistic missiles into the country. Now you see here the air defense active over the city of Tel Aviv. We also got to see in this clip people having to leave a festival for shelter. And then moving on from that and into our next clip. And also we got to see another clip.
Did they add this sound in, or is this like actually there?
It actually sounds like it might be the legitimate air raid siren.
That's crazy. It sounds like they're living like an alternative universe or something. Standing out here, sounds like it's on a loudspeaker, like in headphones or something.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy.
Somebody's Android has a notification.
Go take cover. Go take cover now. That's right. Go take cover.
Man, and they're all just kind of standing around, not really taking cover much. We were able to hear, however, that the U.S. Secretary of State has now called up Netanyahu and has stated that they are concerned about the humanitarian situation in Gaza. We are also hearing that the Israelis are preparing to invade Gaza, as we've seen another force buildup happening near the area. We could also just hear some random explosion in the middle of the clip. I don't really know what that was or where it came from, but still interesting nonetheless. Moving on from that, however, we have been able to hear that apparently the U.S. and the Israelis are still in a major spat at this moment about what the future of the Gaza Strip is going to look like, as the U.S. wants to develop it into a freedom zone, which I don't really know what the hell a freedom zone is. That's never really existed before. And Israel wants to bomb the entire thing to cinders and then pretty much occupy it indefinitely, most likely. So we do not really know what's going to be happening to the Strip at this point. And of course, the Iranians want to run the Strip and also pretty much attack the Israelis through it. So at this moment, we really have no clue what the fate of the Strip's going to be, because it appears that this spat is continuing to grow at every single level with really no end in sight between the two countries. Nevertheless, we are going to be moving on from this international news, and now finally moving on into the Ukrainian frontline news, which there has been a significant amount of today, quite a lot of it. And so, with that in mind, Matthew, before we move on into this next segment of news in the Ukraine war, I understand that we actually have a couple of questions. And so, what are those questions, Matthew? What do we got? What do we got?
All right. So jumping into our live or super chat questions of the night, that is not live chat just yet. That's coming later. But jumping into our first super chat of the night, this one goes to Just Chillin'. He throws in a $50 donation, and thank you very much, Just Chillin', for that very generous support, and we do appreciate that very much. And they said, keep on keeping on, and grab one from the chat, please.
And thank you so much for the support, Just Chillin'. And we will keep on keeping on. We try our best to stay real on the channel the best we can, and I hope that we were able to once again achieve that tonight for everyone. Of course, to the dismay of some, we have sullied the reputation of a perfect man, which I don't really think any of those have ever walked the face of the earth. So, we're keeping it real.
We shall get locked up nicely for this.
Cash Patel is already looking into the case. But nevertheless, I do have to say thank you so much for the support and helping the channel to keep on running. But when a bad call is a bad call, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to apologize for any of the statements I've made, and I stand my ground entirely behind them. This is the weakest foreign policy I've ever seen. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like saying that is blasphemy. This is just getting ridiculous at this point. And it's just. It's really sad to me, just to be entirely honest, to see how some people react to that, because some people live in a bubble. They quite truly do, and it's the political people in the country. They're Democrats and Republicans alike, and there are a lot of those people who live inside of a well-contained bubble, and they mean that they have to defend this false reality that they live in, like the Democrat Party or the Republican Party is perfect, and they can't hear anything that criticizes the leader of their party or someone that they worship. And I don't know if these people know this, but these people don't give a damn about you. So I don't know what you owe them, defending them, because I wouldn't defend a Democrat or a Republican if they have a bad policy and I think it's going poorly for the country, I'm going to call it for what it is. Because you know what I'm not? I'm not a sheep. I have a brain, and I sit there and actually see what the policies are, have a general idea of what I think should be going on, and if it doesn't align with my idea, I don't go with it. I'm not here to support the politicians. The politicians are there because I vote for them. So if they're not doing what I think is good, I'm going to say it's not good, because at the end of the day, I'm voting for people that I believe are going to be securing American interests first and foremost. And both of them have an equal chance of screwing up the job, because I don't look at them as God's chosen one that I'm electing to get into the office. I look at them as people that I'm hiring to get a job done when I vote for them. And so if they're not doing the job that I hired them to do, I'm going to say that I'm very dissatisfied with the job they're doing and that they probably need to be fired here in a couple of years. And that's what I'm going to say, because that's the reality of the situation. And all these other people who are in the chat, who are just lost, and I don't even know where the hell they're coming from, is just an absolutely lame brain kind of a thing. Like if you're coming in here tonight and you think you're going to say something crappy to me because of my opinion and act like you really got me, you're not. What you're showing me is that you have no common sense and intelligence. You're probably one of the people who can't read, because anyone who could read could say that the last administration fumbled plenty of things, and the current administration somehow in just mere months has fumbled more things than I could have ever imagined at this point. And it's just getting absolutely insane.
What you're basically saying is you want people to praise the country and not a person, basically.
Yeah.
Which is something, that's not to rant, but to say this real quick, just an observation. One rabbit hole, one thing that people fall into way too often these days is that when they elect a politician, they idolize the individual instead of the policies that they represent. All a politician is a vessel to advance your policy interest. That's it. The person is irrelevant. The person does not matter. We're not here to praise the person or idolize or worship the person. They're just there to represent our interest. It's like getting obsessed with, like, for example, let's say you go to court because you're getting charged with something criminally and you hire a lawyer. Instead of thinking, oh, the lawyer did his job. No, I'm going to start worshiping the lawyer because without the lawyer, I wouldn't have won. It's like, it doesn't matter, but as long as the lawyer is competent and he's good, he'll win your case for you. It's not like that was the only lawyer that could have done the job. This isn't the only politician that could do the job either. And I think there's more politicians out there that would probably have a better job at doing it, to be perfectly honest, at this point. So it's just idolizing people over policy. That's the problem.
I'm loyal to the United States of America, not to a person. And I've seen a couple of stupid people coming here tonight saying, well, if you don't love America, then you can leave it. And I don't know if they're stupid or not, but, I'm just going to put this out there. Biden isn't the United States of America, and Trump isn't either. They're two people who ended up holding the office of the president. I'm not loyal to either of them. I'm loyal to the United States of America and what's in its best interests. And if they're going against that, I'm going to say in our analysis that it's not what is in the best interest of the United States, especially when they look weak. When you portray America as a weak country, there is no way around that. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat shit for all these stupid people and tell them that, oh, Biden's doing our country great or Trump is doing our country great, when they're not. Like, that, if they're not doing it great, my analysis is going to say they're doing it poorly, and today was just absolutely the worst, because we literally have the receipts from last week throughout the whole course of it showing that he was saying that the day of judgment is coming if the Russians don't make a deal, coming on the 15th. The 15th is here. The Russians aren't even talking today. They're going to talk tomorrow on the 16th, which is coming up here soon. And even still, we're now going, oh, well, this really didn't mean anything, and we're not going to do anything to Russia as a result. Now we want Putin to talk directly to the president. It's just weak. It's just the weakest thing. It was weak in the first place to not try and stop the war before it began, which we could have done. It's then weaker to sit there and run our mouths and say we are going to do something and then not follow through on it. Because if you are in a bar and you see someone that you don't like, you say, hey, I'm going to whoop your ass. And then they come over and say, oh yeah, why don't you do it? And then you say, man, I would, but I just got done with the gym and my arms are really sore. Then you look like a wimp. And that's what now the U.S. is looking like. We're looking like a wimp. And it has nothing to do with the honor of Ukraine or supporting or helping out the Ukrainian people. It has to do with our honor, my honor as an American citizen. Now people are just going to look at the United States and go, we can push the boundaries all we want anywhere, because it is guaranteed that any leader in the U.S. is going to be weak and is going to be scared to actually protect their interests. But anyways, I do thank you for support, Just Chillin', and helping this channel to keep on running, and we will make sure to get a live chat question in your honor after that rant. So with that, what do we got, Matthew?
All right, so the live chat question is going to go to none other than Brian Gonzalez. He said, wait, say again, because I'm not sure if I heard. He said, are we saying that we're going back to Afghanistan again? And is that what you're saying?
It sounds like we might be. Honestly, though, this sounds like a pointless statement because there was also a statement made at the beginning of the current president's term that we were going to get back all $7 billion of equipment from Afghanistan, and they told us to get bent, and then we did nothing to them. So I have a feeling that this will be the same, is that we're going to go to Afghanistan, give us back our air base, and then they're going to say, get bent, and then we're probably going to leave it at that. So it really... The lesson here is that if you're not willing to follow through with stupid claims, don't make them. And this is a pretty stupid claim to try and reclaim Bagram, because we lost it 4 years ago, so we aren't holding it. It's not ours right now. So to get it back, we have to go over there and forcibly take it back, meaning that we have to reinvade Afghanistan. So I'd assume that that is the case, that we're going to go back to Afghanistan. But if we're willing to conduct armed action against the Afghans, why the hell won't we conduct armed action on the ground against the Houthis? Like, that just seems like, it seems to me we would defeat the actual pressing issues right now before we move on to creating problems and then solving them for some reason.
I think that proves it's just talk. It's just talk because, well, right now, and I'm not saying this. Of course, I'm a proud American. I love America. It's the best country on the planet. I always have to say that disclaimer up front so people don't think I'm like hating on the country. I've lived here my whole life and wouldn't live anywhere else. But at the same time, though, right now the USA is like a wounded animal. We just got honestly, in my opinion, we kind of got our ass kicked in Yemen just a minute ago. We didn't follow through with it, and now we back down to the Houthis, which is a terror group. We should have never done that. So we're like a wounded animal. So we're not about to take our wounded self and go to Afghanistan and get wounded again. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's just talk.
I think it's talk, but still, it always throws in the question, are we going to go back in Afghanistan? I would say the answer is most likely no, but also it's absolutely stupid to try and reassert our claim over an airfield that we lost 4 years ago. If we wanted to keep it, here's my question, folks. If we wanted to keep it, then why was he the guy who started the withdrawal from Afghanistan? Why didn't he just keep everyone there? Because we would have been able to keep it then. So what, like... It doesn't make any sense. Like, it just makes no sense. I'm just going to leave it at that. But I hope that does address that well. And thank you once again for support, Just Chilling, and helping this channel to keep on running. Because it is folks like you who help to make this thing possible and help us to keep it running. And so with that, also, Joseph Cameron said, we didn't lose it. We transferred responsibility to the Afghan government, and they collapsed. So in a roundabout sense, we lost it, because we handed it over to the Afghan government, meaning that we lost control of the airport by handing it over to someone, and then they lost it to the Taliban. So in every sense of the way, it's not ours right now. If anything, it's the Republic of Afghanistan's airfield, and they don't even exist anymore. So then it by default falls to the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, which now controls the airport, meaning we don't have it anymore and we lost it. Otherwise, it still would be a U.S. airfield, and it would have U.S. armed forces still stationed at it, which it doesn't. So I hope that addresses that well, at least in my opinion, or at least with how it really is working at this point. But I would just leave it alone, because continuously demanding things from the Afghans and then not following through is another way that we end up looking weak. It's just better to ignore them and not talk about them and just move on from that. It was an unfortunate thing. It was a shame how it ended up. We ended up gaining nothing out of the whole 20 years we were in Afghanistan, but that chapter is over. It's water under the bridge. We have to just move on from that at this point. But with that, I hope that does address that well, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next super chat is going to go to Michael McMahon, who puts in a $50 donation, and thank you very much, Michael, for that $50 support, and we do appreciate that very much as well. Very generous of you. And Michael said, Enforcer Matt, the Congress needs to issue a warning that if Putin does not attend an immediate peace talk, otherwise they would declare war on Russia and force the POTUS to take action against Russia, and do you think that would work? The only problem with that, Michael, is there is one slight problem. First of all, once again, thank you for the support. But the problem is, though, is Congress doesn't necessarily have the ability to go around dictating foreign policy. That is the prerogative of the President of the United States. Congress has the right to declare war. They have the ultimate authority to do that. The president can deploy forces to take action, but Congress has to declare war. So that's the check and balance. But for Congress to start basically engaging in foreign policy and trying to take that over, that would be a violation of the separation of powers, in my opinion. So they might be able to find some people out there that disagree with me on that, because of course there's room for interpretation, but I think they'd be crossing a bit of a line there. And of course, there's been a lot of lines crossed over the past month or two, but we don't want to keep crossing lines over and over just to try to right a wrong. So that's my opinion. But Enforcer, what say you?
I gotta thank you for support, Michael McMahon, and that is a good question. But I would largely have to agree with Matthew. It is actually the president's prerogative, and we can pull up the U.S. Constitution to show this, because I want to make sure that we provide receipts. So let me go to the National Archives, and we'll go to the United States Constitution, which the office of the president should be in Article 2, Section 1. So let's see here. Each state, the Congress shall determine. Let's see here. Let's see here. 1 second. Let's see here. Section 2. Let's see here. Principal, he shall have the power to make treaties. He shall nominate, shall appoint ambassadors, but the Congress may, such a view, let's see, President, let's see, he shall, recommend such measures, let's see. So let me make sure here that I'm getting this correct. I believe it is Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution, that states, let's see here. Principle,
it says he shall, with the advice and consent of the Senate, to make treaties. So that's one thing. That's the part of the foreign policy powers to make treaties.
And let's see, provided 2/3 of the senators present concur. And he shall nominate by and with advice and consent of the Senate shall appoint ambassadors. Well, that's more so of an internal thing. But beyond that, it's generally understood that the president has the authority to make those kinds of foreign policy decisions, but it is the authority of the Senate to declare a war. So they really can't make an ultimatum to Russia outside of the president, because that would largely be a violation of the separation of powers, which there's already been plenty of that recently. But beyond that, that would be a violation of the separation of powers, and that could end up causing some significant issues. Really, all that Congress could do is just out of the blue declare war on Russia, because they really can't dictate to the Russians that if they don't do A, B, and C, they're going to declare war on them. All they could do is just come together and say, hey, do we want to declare war on the Russians? And then if the answer is yes, and they all largely vote yes, we will end up going to war with Russia. So there really is no way to game the system like that. Really good idea, though, I will say, Michael McMahon. That would be a great idea to get the ball rolling if it was possible, but that still might start to violate the separation of powers between the executive and the legislative. But beyond that, I do thank you once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible and keep it running. And also, I saw someone say, to ratify treaties, you still need Congress. Mr. Wires, you are correct, but once again, the president is supposed to be the one, through the Department of State for the large part, that writes up these treaties, and then it's sent to the Senate for approval. There really isn't a way where the Senate can go out and make a treaty and then just make sure that the president agrees with it. The president has to start the process, and then the Senate can approve the treaty or deny the treaty, but that's largely the way it works. But still a good question, though. Beyond that, I hope that does address that the best I can, and I believe, Matthew, that we are on to the final question of this segment, if I'm correct. And so what do we got, Matthew? What do we got?
All right, so this one goes to none other than BC Skyman, also another major channel legend. And thank you very much, BC, for that $50 support. And we do appreciate that very much. And thank you very much, BC, for once again helping to keep the channel running. And of course, he did put in a super sticker, and it's the YouTube Doge creature jumping up in the sky with the fireworks going off around it. Very nice, and I like to see it. But Enforcer, what say you?
I gotta thank you for the massive support, BC Scammon, and helping this channel to keep on running. We love to see the Doge flying through the sky through a myriad of fireworks. We love to see it. And I gotta thank you massively for support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible. We wouldn't be able to keep it rolling, and it wouldn't be a reality up until this very day. And so a huge thank you to you once again for the support. You didn't throw in a comment, but old guards and channel legends like yourself and continue to make this channel possible day in and day out. It is a wonderful thing to know that folks like you continue to enjoy the channel and support it, because you help us to be able to put out the kind of analysis and news that we've been putting out for years, regardless of what other people would want. Some people would want us to disappear, but folks like you help us to be able to stay on air and make sure that we are able to continue saying, long live the Lee Spring Army, and the Lee Spring Army will never die. Because the Lee Spring Army, folks, is not a political organization. It puts American and Western interests first and foremost, beyond the cults around the political parties, which I honestly think is a great thing, an incredible thing. Wouldn't y'all agree? Put an LC in the chat if you put American interest above the interest of a political party. And so that we are going to be moving on from this question segment, a great way to round it out, and a huge thank you to you once again, BC Skyman, for the support. And moving on from that, it is time for us to get on into Ukraine itself, because we have been able to hear of significant developments throughout the entirety of the front lines today. Moving on into the area of the northern regions of Russia, we put this marker over here. We're not really sure if it's coming from the Bryansk Oblast of Russia or from the Gomel Oblast of Belarus, but we were able to hear that intelligence is suggesting that Russia is building up forces for a new offensive, and Putin aims to capture as much territory as possible, potentially reaching the outskirts of Kyiv, according to U.S. officials cited by CNN. So it does appear that at this moment, the Ukrainian armed forces may be having to prepare for another Russian offensive that is coming here soon. And as we've already covered, it appears that many people are believing that that is the primary reason that Russia is stalling. But moving on out of that and on into the rest of the news that we have for the night, we were able to hear inside the area of the Kursk Oblast that the Ukrainian armed forces on the ground and the 103rd Territorial Defense Forces were continuing to destroy Russian positions near to the area of Tetkino, which we can see in this clip right here.
Four, three, two, one, counting backwards. Very fancy.
Man, they do it bougie like around here. And you see them here getting into the basement, and the Ukrainians are about to be clearing out the basement. Call this a spring cleaning. Whoa! Because it is spring, and they're cleaning them out.
I wonder if they're going to come out with a movie called Springtime with Putin.
I wonder. Is that kind of like that one with Gene Wilder in it, where it was like springtime for, H-Man?
Yeah, I think so. I've never actually watched that movie. I just know the title of it, actually.
Or as they call him nowadays, Ye's #1 guy, I think, because he's just an absolute psycho nut. But moving on from that and into Savano, we also got to see the aftermath of a Ukrainian airstrike on the Savano Bridge. And it appears that the whole thing collapsed into the Reka Sim.
They've really been focusing on smashing bridges recently. I think this is like the second or third one I've seen for the last just few days alone.
Man, the Russians, they try to keep their bridges, but the Ukrainians, they burn the bridges. That'll probably be the next justification for turning the Ukraine into the enemy again. But moving on from that into Snagost, we also got to see that the bridge at Snagost was hit today by an airstrike, which we can see right here. Take a look. They zoom in on bridge right there. Near Snagost, a little town, little village. There is clip right there. Actually, same clip is over here. So I guess, because also, by the way, I forgot to mention Zavano Bridge was hit. We're going to move this over here because apparently all of our clips today were from the Snagost Bridge, and I accidentally geolocated that incorrectly. But moving on from that clip, since it is a duplicate, bless me.
Oh, bless you.
But we also get to see a damaged bridge at Zavano, sorry, not Zavano, Snagost, right here in clip. When you see drone flying over, and that is a destroyed bridge, even with small fire to complement.
Old Warrior said, this is why Russia can't have nice things. They can't have nice things because they didn't stand up to the dictator when they had the chance. That's why they can't have nice things.
The Russia can have nice things because they never had the money for them. But they lose the little bad things that they have anyways. Oh, please.
I'm not sure if Russia ever had nice things, to be honest with you. I think it was just kind of always, like, not very nice.
No, it was always really crampy and the cheapest possible methods, which is kind of funny because everyone says that capitalism does that, but communism does that as well. It's almost like any kind of a system that is able to go to its most extreme ends up producing the poorest quality of life for its citizenry. Isn't that interesting, folks? Something to think about. Food for thought right there. But moving on from that and into the remainder of the Kursk Oblast, we also get to see the 413th Battalion destroying Russian forces near to the area of Sudzha, which we can see right here. You see the Russians had pulled over for a picnic, and they're about to get a bomb in their picnic basket from the Ukrainians as this drone flies right into a Ural and blasts it to pieces, right in the hood. Well, looks like the Russians didn't have a good time right there. Oh, look, you see a Russian Victory Day parade. Oh, what is in this parade? Oh, look, a BTR-82. And also a brand new, I forgot what these things are called, but it's like a 2S5 or something like that. But they're rewinding this thing. Oh, look. It's a 2S-43 Maliva. Oh, would you look at that. It's one of the brand new artillery pieces. I mislabeled it, actually. Bink, and they get it. Oh, and a major ammo detonation.
Damn.
Holy
They
smokes,
won't be
folks.
including that one in the parade, that's for sure.
We see the smoke rising from the trees. Absolutely wasted. And that's the end of that clip right there. Take a look at that. Oh, look. It's a Russian lowboy trailer. Well, they're about to lose it. Call this thing a lowboy because the Ukrainians are coming in load slow. Hey, boom! And it's gone. It's absolutely gone. It's getting more said, what happened with the deadline for Iran to capitulate on nuclear weapons if we just let that slide by? Pretty much, yeah, we just let that slide by as well. You know, we're really making those strong decisions that America needed out there all this time. Not those weak decisions like the Obama-era JCPOA or just the ignoring of the whole situation by the Biden administration. No, we're dealing with it strongly this time by creating an even weaker deal and addressing the situation but not actually fixing it and putting a small Band-Aid on a giant hemorrhage. So, that's what we've done there as well. It's just that we don't really cover that too much because that's a real slow developing sort of a situation there. But we can see a Ukrainian drone hit the back of this BMD-4. Which is blowing it away. And we see the drone going right down the hatch. Hit boomy. Hit right in turret. Hit ammunition
It's like a mini volcano or something. A little bit of fire coming out the top like Krakatoa.
Whoa. Looked like a mini volcano. Looks like something you'd see at Paris Island. Whoa. But moving on from that.
Speaking of volcanoes, have you heard about that underwater volcano that's like under the ocean or something that's allegedly going to erupt soon? It's going to cause like thousands of earthquakes simultaneously around the world.
Oh, no, I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, it was a buried headline. I saw it yesterday. I didn't really read much about it, but apparently that's on the horizon too. I don't think it's going to be like something like the apocalypse, but I think it's going to be an interesting like event.
Yeah, but it's probably just going to be small tremors at most everywhere, and then like a larger tremor nearer to the epicenter. But we also did get to see that the 92nd Brigade was also destroying Russian forces in the Belgorod direction today, on top of that, as the Ukrainians continue to push farther and farther. Also, folks, I'm not wanting to get into politics here. I see some people continuously doing that, and we're not really getting rid of those comments enough. But we're not having people here to slander a president's name. You know, like when we disagree with their policies, I'm not trying to make it a personal thing. I'm just speaking about it more so on a line of business. Not really trying to make it, like a domestically political thing where I talk about, sleepy Biden or felon Trump, or something like that. Like, we're not here to do that. I'm just saying that the policies that are being implemented by these people are bad in some instances. That's what we're doing, folks. I just want to make sure that everyone exercises restraint and doesn't break the no politics rule. But we can also see the FPV drones continuing to take out the more Russian vehicles. And we see them continuing to hit the Russian vehicles inside of the trees. And that thing is smoking. And another one is smoking as well. This is actually about a mile or two away from Grafovka in the area that these hits were occurring. And we can see smoke rising from the tree line. But with that, that's the end of the clip right there. And moving on from that and on into our next clip further on inside of Belgorod, we also were able to see some comms towers getting hit. And there goes the drone. And that's the end of the clip. And moving on from that and into the next one, we can also see the hit from another angle.
Хочет сесть туда.
We see here the camera continuing to watch the drone and his tower
Oh,
Есть.
like a
Bled.
gunshot.
They took our TV out, Bled. We don't have any more signal in the village.
Meh. Very sad. Apparently this tower actually was used for Russian military communications in the area, and so it has caused some significant issues as of the impact. We also were able to see a duplicate right here that I put in as a backup just in case the other one was deleted. Moving on from that and further on down and into Veluki in our next clip, we also got to see a Russian convoy getting destroyed in this area as well. We're going to be muting that because it sounds like there might be some music there, but we can see a burning Kamaz on the side of the road. We can also see in other clip here, another burning truck. Burnt to crisp. Also, what's up with all the high voltage, like, relays in the area? Like, how many of them are there around here?
These people are getting that buzzing noise in their head every night.
Bro, dude, every once in a while, one of them just gets zapped by, like a ray of God. You just hear, and everyone gets killed out of the blue from the electricity in the area.
This is a lightning strike, Bled. It's nothing to be concerned with. You can live right underneath these with no problem at all.
Man, I'm telling you. And another burning truck. Yeah, a lot of them were knocked out of Veluki today. Now you see them driving by right there. Toasty, very toasty. While my control room on the side screen is having a tough time loading. Oh, dagnabbit, that damn memory leak on that tab, that just annoys me. I have to refresh it about 20 gazillion times during every show these days. Wish YouTube would fix that. But moving on from that and out of that little clip right there, it does appear that the Ukrainians have been able to inflict significant damage on the Russian Federation forces throughout Kursk and Belgorod today. And Putin has removed the chief of Russia's land forces and doesn't signal an imminent strategy shift. And it appears that half of everyone's saying that Putin wants a new strategy. A quarter are saying that Putin found to be unloyal. Some other people are saying that they need some more intel, and few are saying that they're undecided. But Matthew, what are people thinking about this, and what are you thinking about it as well?
All right. So once again, it says Putin's removed the chief of Russia's land forces. And does it signal an imminent strategy shift? To read the question another time. So 53% said yes, Putin wants a new strategy, while 28% said no, Putin found him to be unloyal. And like we already mentioned, 11% said it seems like we need more intel. So I would say, generally speaking, the fact he's removed the chief of the land forces, I would say Putin definitely wants a new strategy. And that is indicative of his very aggressive push that Putin is wanting to take during the summer offensive. So that does line up. And once again, I don't know who he's picking to replace the guy he just got rid of, but I would assume he's probably going to be a much more aggressive individual than who just got removed. That's my guess. But Enforcer, what say you?
I have to say that possibly the guy was found to be disloyal. It might be a continuation of the purge, because we have seen that multiple people have become victims of the purge in the past, including those like Sergei Shoigu. So I would say he's probably just probably was considered to be disloyal, and that's why he was removed. So I'd have to go with the 27%. But as a shift in strategy, we never seen a significant one, no matter how many people they've changed. So a shift in strategy, I would find that to be a tougher one to believe, at least at the moment, unless we see that that is true. And then I'll have to back off of that and say I was wrong. But moving on from that, and on into our location unknowns, we actually were able to see the Ukrainians testing out an airburst of munition from a drone, which we can see in this clip right here. We see it drop the munition, and it actually bursts in air over the target. First time we've ever seen a drone use a munition like that, which is very impressive. Moving on from that clip and on into our next one, we also got to see archival footage of a donkey. This was in the freezing cold of winter, so we do know that this clip is not recent at all, but it's the first time that we saw it, and I did want to show y'all the donkey. When you see that it's covered in a light layer of frost. And it's just chilling in there. That thing do be chilling.
Donkeys seem like a very chill animal. Probably the last place they need to be is in a war zone.
honestly, man, like, respectfully, the last place they need to be. We're now going to be moving on from that clip and into the Russian Kenshi report for the day, as the losses were quite significant.
Oh, they
Oh!
got 8 Bobcat skid steers today. I gotta say, that is fantastic. That's the most I've seen in a minute. Let's see here. Miss Disa said special equipment highest since +9 on April the 30th. So that's been a minute since we had losses like these. But that is fantastic. 8 Bobcats. I love to see it. But Enforcer, tell us more.
And of course, Miss Disa, keeper of the records, was able to tell us some significant info. First helicopter since +4 on March 24th of 2025. 165 vehicles, ranks as the 14th highest loss, tied with April 22nd of 2025 and March 21st of 2025. Special equipment is highest since +9 on April 30th of 2025, meaning that we've actually seen for the first time a decent loss in the Bobcat skid steer category. Nevertheless, we have been able to hear that 1,220 Russian soldiers have been wounded and killed over the past 24 hours, along with 13 APCs, 165 supply trucks, 8 main battle tanks, 45 artillery pieces, 140 drones, 2 MLRSs, 1 helicopter, 1 anti-aircraft warfare system, and 8 Bobcat skid steers. In general, it does appear that things are going quite well for the Ukrainians at this point, and they were able to inflict a decent loss on the Russians today. Moving on from that and down into the northern area near Kupiansk and Kupiansk-Veslovy, we were able to see the 21st Separate Rifle Battalion tearing up the Russians down below, tearing them up like a good night of Taco Bell. Oh, and they hit them dead on the nail.
Tearing them up bad. I tell you what, give them some of that Imodium.
And we see here they're dropping another bomblet on those Russians. And they're gone, I say. They're gone, I tell yous. Ooh, a dead-on hit. We see another bomblet being dropped right here. And clearing out those tree lines. Call it landscaping because we're clearing out the area between the trees. We now see them dropping another bomblet onto a ruined building, apparently hitting in the middle of the courtyard. And it appears they have a second bomblet ready to go. And there it goes, on down to the ground, where it exploded actually inside the house. Well, you see the drone continuing to drop the bomblets onto multiple different Russian positions in the area. Moving on from that and on into our next clip further on down the way inside the Severonsky Forest, we were able to see that a rare Russian Zala Z-20 drone was downed over the area of the Severonsky Forest today near to the Lehman direction. And we can see those Zala Z-20s right there in the recent Russian Victory Day parade.
And we now see so fancy they got to show them off in the parade. That's just ridiculous.
Man, really it is. They're about to take one down right here. And there it goes. There was a Zala Z-20. That thing be gone. A pink. Got blown up to pieces. Very sad. But moving on from that, we also get to see more drones being hit. Take a look. Another oil line being hit in the Lehman direction. And they get that one right there. Take a gander at that. Holy moly. But moving on from that and on into the next clip here, we were also able to see further down the line in Lysychansk, the hitting of Russian forces by the Su-27s of the Ukrainian Air Force dropping aerial guided bombs onto Russian positions. Take gander. And there goes the bombs in the middle of the city right there, actually on the mouse cursor, which the camera is flinging around so rapidly it's really hard to point out, but we can see the bombs impacting the Russian positions right down there.
Those Ukrainians are really good at that. They have a way with bombs.
They have a way with bombs like America has a way with words. Actually, that's a bad comparison because America doesn't have a way with words. Ukraine has a way with bombs like the Israelis have a way with 2,000-pound bombs. Maybe that's a better way of putting it. But moving on from that and down to Toretsk, we also get to see the 28th Mechanized Brigade hitting Russian forces around the city of Toretsk in this clip right here. We see them here continuing to hit the Russian vehicle again. It appears to be a turtle tank. And it appears
also, aka a junker.
a piece of crap. but moving on from that clip, and further down from Turretsk and into Pokrovsk, we also got to see the 3rd Battalion breaking through Russian lines to pick up a wounded Ukrainian soldier. We're going to be muting the rock music because I can already tell you that one would be copyrighted to hell. But we can see here they got the 50, and they're laying out fire on that 50. Laying down raw heat. Unmitigated firepower. You can now see him reloading the 50 cal here. And continuing to lay down fire on the Russians as they now drive under a bridge, reload the gun, and continue to lay down more heat. We now see them driving through the tunnel. It's a pretty dark and damp tunnel. We now see them grabbing the, I believe it's the wounded Ukrainian soldier. It appears they may have a splint on his leg. But he is now on the way out, and the mission was a success. And that was the end of the clip, but a very impressive recovery operation by the Ukrainian Armed Forces. Moving on out of that area and towards Wheelopol, we also got to see the Ukrainians repelling a Russian assault. Of course, the defense being conducted by the 58th Mechanized Brigade and the Fenrir drone unit of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, which we're able to see in this clip right here. You see the drone circling around and observing the Russian vehicles on the street below. It appears to be a Russian turtle tank. And it appears to have also been hit directly in the engine bay. We can now see the vehicle trying to turn left. It's going quite slowly, and it appears that the ass end of the vehicle is now on fire. It has now gone out of view. We now see the vehicle over here, I believe, and we now see the Russian crew abandoning the vehicle as it may have been disabled in the strike.
Some of the rats went to the building and some ran into the forest. It was just up to them. Some went one place.
Scatter! Yeah, like they just started running everywhere. When you see here, the Russian vehicle sitting in the sitting outside the street, is it chuck in a barn and quietly drizzle out the gasoline on the street below. And we now see that the vehicle has had a critical ammunition explosion, flinging the turret a short distance ahead of the vehicle.
And now we have old-fashioned pyrotechnic sparkler blade.
And you see that the remains of BMP is the Russians continue to hide in the trees. There's one of them right there on the mouse cursor right there. Look at them. And the camera just panned away from him. Apparently did not see him. And now you see dirt bikes left inside the tree line. Oh, attack. Another dirt bike. So many dirt bikes. Honestly, man, this war is becoming a graveyard for the dirt bikes of Russia.
Seems like not a very good mode of transportation. They all get shot off pretty quick.
And also some ATVs. Look at that. Man, this tree line's more equipped than the local Bass Pro Shops. And yes, tomato puree. Anyways, moving on from that clip and on into our next one. That is actually going to be taking us up to Kyiv, where we have been able to hear the air defense report. As on the night of May 15th, 110 drones attacked Ukraine. 62 of them were shot down. 29 were suppressed by electronic warfare measures and did not reach the target, meaning that they were able to successfully now let's see, at the 91 of the 110 drones, meaning that only about 19 of them made it through successfully through the air defense, which is a pretty decent interception rate, all things considered. Nevertheless, that is actually the end of the news for the night, because we did not have a speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky, as he was traveling today from Istanbul to Albania and visiting the Albanian heads of state and the leaders of Albania at the during the course of the day. So we did not get to hear a speech from Zelensky, meaning that we are transitioning at this very moment, without further delay, into the second segment of the stream where we get to talk to each and every one of y'all. And boy, howdy, folks, is it always a fun segment. We get to talk about literally anything and everything tonight. And we absolutely love to talk about anything and everything. We could talk about anything at all, folks, as long as it's not religion or politics. Because I thank you all so much for being invested in your American domestic political institutions. But if I hear some sort of a emotionally driven point on a political topic, I actually might run out of patience. It's not really about keeping up the rules of this channel. I have very little patience for pointless idle chat on the political stuff. So with that, it is going to be time for us to move on into this segment. And so with that, Matthew, what do we got? What do we got, Matthew?
Hey, hey, my mic's not picking me up. I was sitting there talking. I didn't see the thing lighting up. I was talking. I was yapping.
That mic is $1,200. It picks you up when you speak at 120 decibels. So like it's
how many times do I have to tell you? It's not the mic, it's Discord. But anyways, we are now moving on to our Super Chat segment, our final one of the entire stream. And of course, it is the best time of the stream because we do get to address, like the Enforcer said, everything and anything y'all want to talk about, which is, of course, a good relief after watching all the heavy war footage. But with that, we're jumping into our first one here, which goes to none other than Gunfox. And Gunfox is a channel legend, and thank you very much, Gunfox, for the $50 support. And he said Apollo 13. And also, by the way, it's a day in history, by the way. He said Apollo 13, 4/11 through 17 of 1970, was the 7th crewed mission in the Apollo space program and would have been the 3rd moon landing. And the craft was launched from KSC, but the landing was aborted after an oxygen tank in the service module exploded.
And I thank you so much for the support, Gunfox 61, and throwing this in on a day in history, a day in space history. Look at that. That's the side of the Apollo command module just hours before re-entry. Picture taken by the lunar lander. Pretty interesting little thing there, how that happened. And I got to thank you so much for supporting this channel and helping it to keep on running, Gunfox 61. And I also have to say that the only way I know of Apollo 13 is because of the movie Apollo 13 with Tom Hanks in it, which actually was a pretty decent movie. I remember watching it as a kid. One of the few movies I actually got to watch. We really didn't get watch a lot of movies growing up, and that was one of the few, so we were pretty impressed by that. But beyond that, I do thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible, and we wouldn't be able to hear that its electrical and life support systems were damaged, and the crew had to create its own form of a life support system, some sort of a carbon scrubber, I believe, and so they were able to make sure to stay alive and re-enter the atmosphere. It's, I believe, the only Apollo mission that ran into any situation where the moon landing had to be aborted and the Apollo craft had to return back home. Really quickly, let me see if I can find some other pictures here. Let's see. Oh, look, they're practicing planting the flag. Man, that suit looks heavy.
Man, I bet that thing was heavy. Well, you know, in space, you're weightless, so you don't have to worry about it so much.
Well, on the moon, you're only 20% or 25% of your weight on Earth. So you still have weight. It's just that it's, you know, it's not as much. So you could make that thing a little bit bulky. But beyond that, oh, look, this is a picture that they took from Apollo 13. Look at that.
Now, that is cool right there. I don't know if you can see that with a telescope, but that's a nice view right there. Sometimes I feel like I would like to go to the moon and set up a nice house there sometimes, but, you know, that's just wishful thinking.
Man, sometimes I'd like to go up there, man, and eat the cheese that the moon's made of. You know, Matthew, Wallace and Gromit, the moon is made of cheese. We go to the moon when you get the cheese and you come back.
Yeah, I think he was hallucinating a little bit.
Oh, no, I think it was real. That was a documentary. But beyond that, still a very interesting kind of a thing. Also, let's see. So is that the little scrubber thing that they made right there? Did they take a picture of it? Let's see here. Oh, and someone's resting in the frigid spacecraft because it's frigid, because the life support systems went down. But they still made it back, and he's even reading the paper.
Astronaut safe. He's reading the paper. Oh, wait a minute. He's on the ground right here?
Yeah.
I was about to say, how's he reading this paper and the thing? He's not even back yet. It's not making any sense, but it makes sense now. Also, look, Nixon due here tomorrow. Oh, that's a different time, a different era right there, I'll tell you.
Well, I gotta tell you something, folks. There are some disasters that happen in the course of space exploration, but I'm about to tell you all that the disaster that happens after the 1972 election is going to really pale in comparison. Tap 'em, wiretap 'em.
But beyond that, oh man, I gotta say, I have a kick with that one. I always love them. Nixon, very great foreign policy guy. The paranoia, not so great. But beyond that, really interesting stuff here. Oh look, there he is.
I have to tell you all that they made it back alive, and we are very happy to have them all back. This guy's got a jawline that could cut through coal. Look at him. Look at this guy.
Some say that the astronauts didn't make it back safely. I was going to send in men with flashlights to break in the capsule and get them home.
I just gotta tell you something. This guy right here, he has a chin line as strong as my stance on Vietnam. We were bombing the North Vietnamese into submission, and it actually worked somehow. At least that time around. But, not in the long run, though. Not in the long run.
But beyond that, I do have to say, very interesting mission overall. Very neat to see Nixon showing up for just a moment there in our little brief overview. But beyond that, I have to thank you once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible. We wouldn't be able to keep it running, Gunfox, and we wouldn't be able to talk about a space. And so that huge thanks once again, and we are on to next ones.
All right, so moving on to our next super chat here. This one is going to go to none other than Rad Doctor, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Rad Doctor, for that $20 support. And he said, if new LSA members want a true treat, watch the 1-year anniversary show. The intro is so good in LSA.
Hey, and I gotta thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, Rad Doctor. And also, thank you so much for the support and wanting everyone to watch that 1-year anniversary show. It was certainly special, that I will say. And that intro took a long amount of time and effort to make. In fact, that whole entire show took a long amount of time and effort to make, because everything for that night was specially made for that one show, and then it was never used again. And so, yeah, that took a lot of work. It was actually a really high moment of the channel, and then we had 2 guests come on, and they ended up being duds, and so we never brought guests on again. Dennis, though, he was real. We're friends with Dennis. But the other two, not really. But beyond that, I do thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible, and we wouldn't be able to keep it on running. So a huge thanks to you so much once again, and a very interesting recommendation for sure, Rad Doctor, and one that is years ago at this point, crazy enough. That would be 2.5 years ago when that happened. But still, a huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one here is going to go to none other than Gunfox. Once again, he puts in 2 more super chats. They're each a $20 donation, and thank you very much, Gunfox, for the 2 extra supports. He said, 1991, Edith Cresson of the Socialist Party became the first female premier of France, but she lost the office less than a year. 1940, San Bernardino, California, McDonald's opened a drive-through restaurant. And question from the chat.
I gotta thank you for the support, Gunfox61, and that's very interesting here that a damn socialist won the election in France. Look at that. Who is this person? Edith Cresson. Cresson. There we go. Why does she look like she's scheming in this picture?
Socialism, yes.
Yes, socialism, yes. It's like, I'll refrain from my comments there. Not really a big fan of socialism, communism, fascism, or just unregulated capitalism. Not really a fan of any of them. But
man, you know what introverts do when they hear of the government structure called socialism?
What?
They go, oh no.
Bro, people who are antisocial, hearing about the Socialist Party, very scary stuff. But beyond that, let's see here. One of the shortest in the history of the Fifth Republic. Let's see. What in the world? That was her comment on Japan?
What? Let's see here. Oh dear.
It's
the yay of the day.
I don't know. This woman was actually batshit. Just reading some of the comments she had, I'm like, I don't think this person was in a sound mental state, really. So yeah, no wonder they were the shortest serving premier of the Fifth Republic. That would make sense. So anyways, I do thank you for support on that one. And also, what else was in that? What else was in that day in a history, Gunfox? Because we have more to look into. Let's see.
It was a McDonald's in the San Bernardino with the first drive-through restaurant.
McDonald's, San Bernardino. Oh, look, it's still there.
Oh, yes. This is where that fella walked in and said, "You guys are making hamburgers so efficient. I must have a piece of this." And he got it and he took it over. What was his name? Ray Kroc, I think.
Yeah, he just stole the whole business from him. A great move, really.
Well, he paid him, I think. He didn't really steal it.
Well, he paid them like nothing, man. Like he paid them nothing and pretty much told them to go screw themselves. So
Oh, damn. Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, like that's actually a thing that was considered to be pretty nasty because the vacuum salesman guy who ended up owning McDonald's went up to the McDonald's brothers and was like, "Hey, I can help you all out with this," and he did some really underhanded stuff and pretty much hostilely took over the company without them even knowing. Pretty much did it right under their noses. And then when they were like, "Hey, man, that's kind of wrong," he was like, "Here's like a little bit of money, go jump off a bridge or something," and then just told them to go on their way. So. Not really honestly, man, the guy who actually took McDonald's and ran with it was a real bastard. The guys who originally founded McDonald's were just doing their own thing. So I don't really like the guy who ended up running McDonald's in the end because the McDonald brothers were cool, but the guy who ended up stealing the whole company from them was not. Kind of like the guy who stole Mortimer Mouse from Walt Disney. And then got screwed over, and then Walt Disney bought back Mortimer Mouse, and then turned him into the villain in all of the Mickey Mouse cartoons just to get at that guy. But anyways,
yeah, and then after the McDonald's brothers got out of that business, then they ended up on that farm with all the animals, EIO and all that business.
Man, bro, the EIOs were their interest payments that they weren't getting. Like the EIO.
You EIO me a lot of money.
Man, you EIO me about $500 million. It's like, damn. But beyond that, I do thank you for the support and sharing this with us because it's very interesting to think that during the time that this McDonald's opened, the first McDonald's opened 1 year before World War II broke out, at least for the United States, which is actually a little bit crazy. When McDonald's first opened, Matthew, Germany was invading France.
That's what got them going. They wanted the damn 15-cent hamburger, and they're like, we need the recipe. We also need more living space, too, so we're going to make that happen.
Man, honestly, man, it's kind of whack, man. Inflation. Burger went from 15 cents to now they're like $5. What a shame.
Oh, man, the inflation's insane, honestly. I watched a documentary and some studies yesterday about just compared to, like, the 1980s versus now, like, young people are screwed, like, when it comes to, like, the differences in costs. Like, inflation doesn't even explain how high the costs have gotten in the modern day in 2025. Even accounting for inflation, the costs are doubled, if not tripled, on houses, cars, groceries, everything. It's like all you can expect is maybe it's greed, because if inflation is not accounting for it, then how did the cost go up like that?
Yeah, I would have to agree. It's a pretty rough situation. Also, Chris K said, "Bro doesn't understand business." I don't understand bastards. I understand business because I hate to tell you this, buddy, you're watching a product of our business right now, and you've been watching it for a while. So I understand business quite well, considering that this show is usually in the top 100 live streams in America on YouTube every day. I'd say I got a pretty good understanding of business. The one thing I don't like is when people go out of their way to screw over other people. Some people might say that that's a part of business, but I say that's just being a shitty person. Because I've been around people who screw over folks for a living, and you know something? They're shitty people. So, I know from personal experience, those kind of people aren't people to look up to and admire. They're really right bastards, every single one of them. Really learned that recently, and it changed my whole outlook on people in that kind of a category in general. So, not really a lack of understanding business, is more so of a lack of understanding for assholes, at least in my honest opinion. Because, like, stealing someone's business from them by pretty much doing underhanded stuff when they're operating on good faith and then screwing them over is just morally wrong. Like if you have a great idea and you run with it and you build it into something like the Ring camera guy did, great on him. He created that idea, he grew it into what it was. Disney created his ideas and he grew the Disney company into what it was. Pemberton, who created Coca-Cola, grew his business into what it was, at least a little bit. Those are people who actually went and made their own companies and then grew them. I don't like people like the guy who took over McDonald's or Jobs or Elon who walk into companies that are kind of successful and they're growing at their own pace and then pretty much steal them from their original creators and then turn them into something big. Or like, for example, how the KFC KFC actually screwed over Colonel Sanders. I don't really like that either. Because like the restaurant was originally Colonel Sanders' idea, he grew it, and then the board kicked him out of his own company for the large part. Like that's just kind of a really crappy thing. And also I see like they're really crappy but successful people. It's still not an excuse. Like if you're a crappy person, you're a crappy person. It doesn't matter how successful or how much money you make. And I just got to tell you, that's not something I'm wavering on at all, because Matthew and me have quite a storied experience with some of the crappiest people imaginable. I'll say that over the years of running this channel, I started off as a very positive person, thinking that people on all ends would be relatable or at least understandable. And as the years have gone by, I've gotten enough experience to say that there are some people who are absolutely crappy people, and there are a lot of these people who do these kinds of things with companies are very crappy people. That I can promise you. So with that, I hope that does address that somewhat well, at least in my opinion. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, in our next super chat here,
we gotta
goes
get a live
to
chat.
Gunfox. Oh, you're right. We do need to grab a live chat in honor of Gunfox's last super chat. And the live chat question here is going to go to none other than, well, I ban bots simultaneously at the same time. Fantastic multitasking. This one goes to Alan Deshane. You said, can you talk about the Desert Eagle? Are you referring to the overpowered pistol that shoots 50 AE? Are you talking about that one? Because if you are, that's an interesting topic.
Actually, it's chambered in both 44 Magnum and 50 AE, and also a whole bunch of other calibers, apparently, including, let's see, 440 Kurban, 429 DE, 41 Magnum, 357 Magnum, and 357 44 Bain and Davis. This is a pretty interesting kind of a pistol, originally created, and I want to make sure that I get this correct, by Magnum Research Incorporated, and then later on it was refined by Israeli Military Industries. So it's actually an Israeli gun. I don't know about them. I've seen one before. I've never shot one. I generally just shoot 44 Magnum revolvers because I have heard that due to the pistol's recoil management system, which I believe uses a dual buffer spring, it's a pretty complicated kind of a pistol mechanically, at least from what I've heard, and I don't know a lot about the internal mechanics of the gun. But generally, when you get into heavier caliber pistols, I generally just lean more towards the revolver side, because semi-automatic pistols are a little bit more, well, a good bit more difficult to clean and maintain, and revolvers are pretty simple. All you have to do is pop the cylinder out, and you can pretty much access everything from that point that you really would need to for any kind of a basic cleaning. With this, though, you have to pretty much take apart the whole thing, and that gets kind of time-consuming. But
I honestly have no desire to shoot those. Like the caliber is too big for a pistol, and it just seems like the wrist breaker 1000. Like I have no desire to shoot a caliber that large out of a pistol. I don't want to get injured by a firearm. Like I enjoy like seeing like larger calibers being shot, but for some reason I've never been a fan of actually shooting larger calibers. I just don't like getting beat the hell out of the gun that I'm shooting. That's why I usually just stick to like more standard rounds, like the 5.56, like for pistols, 9mm or something like that. Not these like insanely large, like, oh yeah, like I'm Macho Man, I'm shooting like a 50 AE out of a pistol or something. I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Now, you know, there is a guy, actually, let me go see if I can find a picture of this. Where in the world is it? I shot a gun that shot like a 460 Casull or something like that a while ago. I forgot the name of the cartridge, but the thing was massive and unwieldy. And also, like, the thing roared like thunder when you fired it. It was like actually firing a small cannon. But these, I'm just not really a fan of them. They got a lot of press because it's a powerful semi-automatic kind of a handgun, but it's really not my style. The largest caliber that I get up to is 44 Magnum, and that's in revolvers. Anything that's semi-automatic, the largest caliber that I go up to in semi-automatic would be something like 45 Auto or 45 ACP, which is the same thing. Because anything bigger than that in a semi-automatic pistol, it just starts becoming over-engineered to be able to to really handle those kinds of calibers. But that would just be my opinion. That's my 2 cents on it. Still, it looks nice. It's just that I would never really be that interested in it myself. But with that, I hope that does address that well, at least the best I can, in my opinion. I do thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And also, folks, I believe in compactness. My daily carry is a 1903 pistol in 32 auto.
Look at that. That little pistol right there. And what does it shoot again?
It shoots 32 auto.
32 auto. How's that compared to 9mm?
It's a good bit smaller. Let me go see. 32 ACP versus 9mm. Let me see if I can get a little size comparison here. So that's a 9mm compared to a 32.
Oh, that's small there. The question is it potent enough for self-defense? That's not a good question to have to ask. That's interesting.
It is potent for self-defense because it actually was a standard issue caliber for a lot of the police departments in America up until the Glock became a thing.
Interesting. I personally think I like 9mm personally. That's my thing.
I like 32 ACP, folks, because 32 ACP gets the job done. I mean, it's not a 9mm, but it does produce a much smaller pistol. Like if I got this 1903 compared to a Glock, this thing is far thinner in width. It's also smoothed on all edges. There's no sharp edges on this thing, which is nice for carrying around.
There's no sharp edges on the Glock, and also like my Glock 43X is probably thinner than yours.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? No, your Glock ain't thinner than mine. No, I'm sorry, man. It's just not, man. 30, like it has to be wider. It has to be wider. That's just the truth of it. Let's see.
It's a single stack. Like the 43X is a single stack 9mm, so it's not double stack. I don't know what type of mag yours has got on it, but mine's single.
Let's see. Well, mine's a single stack as well, Matthew. So that is a Glock 48 versus a 1903.
Oh, mine, no, not a 48, man. A 48's much larger than what I've got. I'm talking about a 43X.
Like this?
Let's see. That's a 43. Yeah, look, it's actually mine's smaller than yours by a little bit.
And how many rounds does yours carry in 9mm?
10 plus 1.
And it's a single stack?
Single stack.
So how are you fitting 10 9mm rounds in a single stack pistol grip that is that big?
I don't know. Hold on. Let me tell you. Let's see here.
Because I think it only carries like 6 or 5 or something. It can't be a lot.
No, it's 10. It's 10 plus 1. I'm holding the mag right here in my hand. I got 1 in the chamber and 10 in the mag.
I'm finding that a little bit hard to believe for a single stack, man, because this 32 ACP is only carrying 7.
I mean, that's the beauty of Glocks. Like, they do things that are just engineering marvels. That's why I'm such a huge fan of them.
Huh. Well, one thing I'm not a fan of is that this thing doesn't have a safety, and not only that, it doesn't have double redundant safeties. So that's what I'm not really a fan of.
It does have a safety. That thing right there in the center of the trigger, that little like secondary looking trigger right there in the middle, that is a safety. If you don't have that depressed, you can't just accidentally snag the trigger and pull it. It won't let you pull the trigger all the way.
Well, yeah, you can accidentally snag and pull the trigger, man. Like if anything's snagging the trigger, it's pressing that down. So in a sense, it's just like it's not a safety really.
I just think like the best safety is like gun safety, like with trigger discipline. That's the best safety. Like if it's somebody inexperienced, maybe they want a manual safety. But me personally, I don't want to have to fumble around trying to look for the switch whenever I need to use it, because if you need to use a pistol, you're likely in a really like bad situation. You probably want to be fumbling to find the safety.
Well, I mean, the safety is easy to find, man. You just flip it down. Like, he just flipped the
I just
safety
don't
down.
like it, man. I just like to have it ready to go. Like I know that thing's ready to go. Like a damn Little Caesars hot and ready pizza. That thing's ready.
Man, I've seen so many accidents with Glocks on video that I just don't like them. Like, and you're saying that's a safety. And every time someone shoots themselves, you know what they're pressing? The trigger, so that safety's depressed. Like, that's literally just a fake safety. Because it's like when you're shooting the gun, your finger's on the trigger. If something snags the trigger and it fires, it's pressing down on that already to fire the thing.
But you got to keep in mind, man. Like it depends on the shooter. Like if the shooter's no good, like the people you're talking about playing with the Glock, usually they have Instagram Live turned on. They're waving the Glock around. They're holding it sideways. It gets a little bit sketchy real quick. You don't want to play with your firearm like it's a toy. And if you start doing that, that's when it doesn't really matter if you have a safety or not. They'll turn the safety off, and then they'll end up doing something stupid anyway with it, and somebody will get shot by accident. It depends on the shooter.
I don't know, man. I'm going to have to stick with my 1903. It looks better, in my opinion. It's classier looking. It's got nice grips. This thing, plastic Tupperware pistol. Like, my righteous steel-made 1903 designed by John Moses Browning himself, or this Tupperware creation created by Gaston Glock, who sounds like he's about to be in, like, Beauty and the Beast or something. But anyways, with that,
Somebody said, "I'm not American. Can you tell me what a gun is?" A gun is a magical thing, sir. It's a very magical thing. It's something that Americans pride themselves on. I think most Americans in this country, have 2 to 3 guns on average or something like that. I don't know the exact stat off the top of my head, but a gun is something that is a self-defense tool. Or if you're someone who is a little bit differently minded, it's a hunting tool if you want to go hunting for things. But of course, some people say, "Oh, you don't use an AR-15 for hunting. You can't use that to hunt white-tailed deer." And generally speaking, most people don't use an AR-15 for that. But the catch is, the beauty of it is, the founding fathers in America said you have the right to bear arms, and you have the right to bear an AR-15 too. But of course, sensible gun owners are a good thing as well. We don't want people running around acting like fools with them, because of course that's irresponsible and dangerous. But we have the right to bear arms, and I must say I'm very proud of that as an American.
wait a minute. I was comparing this is just the G43, not the G43X. If we take those, yours is actually a good bit bigger than mine.
Well, I mean, it's not really size doesn't really matter. It's more about how you use it.
Well, that's why the 1903 is a nice solid package, Matthew, because the 1903, I don't know if you know, was a movie star.
It could have been, but some people say that bigger is better, and that's the one on the left. That's pretty damn big.
Yeah, but that's to fit 10 rounds. I mean, this thing fits 7 in this nice compact package. And look, the safety's down on this one too in the picture.
I actually had to get the 43X because I have large hands. I have big hands. But seriously, though, I actually have very big hands, so I couldn't really grip the 43 like the normal version. I was like, I feel like I'm fumbling around like a clown, like with this thing. Like I need something with a better grip. So they're like, "Oh, look, here's a 43X with an extended handle." I'm like, "Oh, look, a gun for people with big hands. This is perfect." So that's the one I had to go with, not a necessity because I couldn't actually grip the 43 properly. It was just all over the place.
Oh, I can't actually grip the 1903 properly. My whole pinky just sits below like the bottom of the grip. Like the whole pinky's just down there free floating. So I'm pretty much shooting the thing 3-fingered every time I do, because the 2 lower fingers on the hand fit right down here, and then the trigger finger is up there, of course, in the trigger guard. So a little bit interesting with that. These things are tiny. Like 1903s are actually quite small. But the idea, folks, behind them back in the day when this thing was designed was that it would be able to fit in a coat or vest pocket, because it would be small enough and it also have enough smooth rounded edges that it'd be able to do that, which is something that you don't see on Glocks, because you'll notice Glocks are a good bit angular, and don't really have the kind of like smoothed out rounded rear edges and the sides to it that the 1903 has. If you looked at a Glock face forward, they're pretty much square, and I wonder if we could actually see that. Let's see here. Let me go type in a Glock 43X, and let's see if we can see one from the front. So you can see right there, fairly square in the shape. The Colt 1903, if I can get one more towards the front, as you can see, it's rounded more so, which makes it a little bit easier to, pull in or out of a pocket somewhere. So I gotta say, it's nice for that reason. I like that, and I like that John Moses
But
Brown thought about that. A visionary.
one other thing, is it's all metal, which of course that's nice from a build quality perspective. But if you're trying to, you know, like I do, if you're trying to put it in like your belt loop or something to carry it concealed, it's got some more heft to it. So you're walking around with a little bit more weight. You know, sagging your pants down a little bit and stuff. The Glock, being a Tupperware gun, except for the slide and a few other components, is a lot lighter. And to me, I don't mind it as long as the gun functions properly. Obviously, Glocks have no problem whatsoever having plastic handles. I'm like better with the weight savings personally.
Matthew, are you saying that you're against American steel being in your American firearm? Because the steel in my 1903, Matthew, was most likely made at Bethlehem Steel or some other major steel company.
No, I'm in favor of steel. I just don't want the steel to, you know, pull my pants to the ground.
Man, I'm all for it, man, because it adds stability, at least in my opinion, because the weight offsets the recoil. So there's no recoil on this thing. It's smooth as glass. And that's really important, you know, when you get to it. Your Tupperware pistol, that thing's gonna be bouncing and bobbing and weaving, kind of like a, kind of like a, just, kind of like it would, because it's lightweight, it's lightweight, and I don't know about lightweight, man. Lightweight, more like get out of here weight. We need heavyweight hitters. We need 32 ACPs that weigh about 1.5 pounds because we can, and because it's made of American steel, people. And the American steel is the best kind of steel, because there is nothing in the world that truly beats out a nice, good American coil of steel, of course. But with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, at least in my opinion. But if I had to say big caliber gun, 1873 Peacemaker. Oh, buddy, look at that.
Oh, the Peacemaker. That thing looks a little bit wicked. But let's see here. I see Legend Leo. Legend Leo in the chat. He said, I can't wait as a Brit to get some American citizenship to get those guns. Oh, yes. And he also said, thoughts on the Canadian C8 carbine. I don't know what that even is, to be honest with you. Let's see. That's like a Corvette, C8 Corvette. Oh, look, that's basically like a Colt licensed M16, I think, or something, M4.
I think it's like an XM177E1. It looks like to me. Kind of close, not really. But kind of there. Really, honestly, it just looks to me like a normal, kind of like an M4 with like a clamshell foregrip.
Yeah, it's pretty solid looking. I like that. I mean, it looks pretty good. I like it. It's a good standard one. It's nothing crazy or anything like that, but it looks pretty good.
Yeah, it does look pretty good. I don't know why this came to mind, because really that just does, well, actually that one kind of looks just like it. Yeah, that really does look like it. Honestly, that might be it. Yeah, I think that is it, because it's got like the same stock and everything. But generally these are pretty good. I mean, there's nothing bad with them. But when you get down into like these kind of like little tiny ones, one thing that I find neat, just because it's unique, is the AKS-74U, which is the little crink, or like the little AK. It has a folding stock on it. These things are technically SBRs in America, so they're a little bit more difficult to get, and you have to have a tax stamp for them. And then you also have to track one down, and then you also have to get 545 for them. But once you get all those things put together, and you have the thing, it is pretty neat. And these things are loud as hell, because the barrel of this thing is only about like 6.5 inches, 7 inches long. So it's like a pistol length barrel shooting a rifle caliber cartridge, a 545 by 39. So they are wildly loud. They shoot flames too, but they're pretty neat, and they're also really compact. And if you wanted to make it even more compact, you can fold the stock, and then you literally get pretty much an AK pistol.
Oh, now take Legend Leo over to the Honey Badger side of things, which is my favorite gun of all time. I actually have one. I was fortunate enough to get one after I'd wanted one for years and years and years. The Honey Badger pistol kitted. Type that in, you'll see it. Like, say kitted at the very end of it, because you need the one that's rigged out, looking good. Let's see here. Yep, look at that. There you go. That right there, that is my holy grail gun right there. I have one of those with the suppressor actually as well. So I have the suppressor on the front. I have the whole gun in the back. Obviously, I have the pistol, not a stock, the pistol grip in the back, or whatever they call it, pistol. I don't know what their terminology is for it now, but this is a very like cool gun right here. It's made to shoot suppressed subsonic rounds, so it sounds like a BB gun when you shoot it. And it's shooting a 300 black round, which is pretty large at subsonic speeds. So very cool. And I've got a EOTech on the top of it as well, and a weapon light on the side, not on the top, because I don't want to interfere with the red dot. But yeah, I love this gun. Like, this is the coolest gun ever like made, in my opinion. Very, very neat.
I'm generally a person who's into older firearms. Matthew's really into like the ultra modern, and I'm usually into something from most likely the Cold War. That's usually where like my guns kind of range is World War I, World War II, or the Cold War, somewhere in there. I think the most modern looking gun I have is a FNPS 90, which is the civilian version of the P90, which has this insanely long barrel on it. That's probably the most modern design I have, because this is from the personal defense weapons program of the 90s. That was supposed to create a new personal defense weapon for tankers and logistics guys and such things. And it never really caught on, so it just ended up being used by Special Forces SWAT and all that sort of a deal. But it is a pretty cool little gun. I actually say that this thing's great. It's the only problem is that it uses the pistol caliber 5.7 cartridge, which is really the only drawback. But then again, if you made anything bigger than that, the magazine would be too big and the gun would be a little bit too wide. But these things are actually pretty neat, at least in my opinion. Another one that would be modern-ish, that would be neat, would be, let me think. I have a Colt Anaconda. Maybe that would be, let's see. Here we go. And mine has the 6-inch barrel. So I have one of these in 44 Magnum. That's actually like an 8-inch barrel. Let me go see if I can get a 6-inch barrel. Where in the world? There we go. So this is pretty much one of the ones that I have. I love it. It's great. Shoots 44 Magnum. It doesn't really, it kicks like a mule to most people. It doesn't really kick like a mule to me. I fire this thing one-handed. But I find these neat. And they're also easy to clean too, so they're really fun as far as like the pistol cartridges go. And let's see here. Let's see that. Let's see. I'm trying to see. Someone said P80. Let me go pull that up. The P80 gun. It's a Glock. I'm not really a big fan. Apparently, this is not a Glock. Actually, I'm not really a big fan of anything though that looks like a Glock. Like it's. I'm just not really a big fan of them.
Hey, I don't know what this is, man. I'm not gonna lie. This doesn't really look like a Glock. This looks like I don't know. I'll be honest with you. This thing is hideous. Like, I'm no offense to anybody that likes this one, but this thing is rough.
That thing is rough. And also Rick Oldacker said, "Is your Colt nickel?" Yes, it is nickel. I think all of them come with this nickel finish, like this right here. So mine looks exactly like this. This one's a little bit dirty. Mine's a little bit dirty too, so very similar. But that's what mine looks like. So yes, it is also nickel plated. I know that Smith and Wesson made some 44 Magnums. Let me see here. They usually get theirs with a black finish like this. But I honestly, personally, the nickel finish has grown on me. I think it looks cooler. It kind of reminds me of Kellogg's gun from Fallout 4, which I think is a 44 Magnum, if I'm correct, Matthew. And that
I think so. Yeah, I think it was that Kellogg.
Let me see. Fallout 4 Kellogg's pistol. So yeah, that actually is pretty close, and it is in does it say 44 anywhere? Yeah, it is a 44. So it kind of looks a little bit similar. So that's kind of something that's neat to me, is that it looks a lot like Kellogg's pistol from Fallout 4, although I don't know what the additional add-on down here is about. I have no clue, because that really has no reason to be on the design, but I still think it looks neat. Anyways, with that, I hope that addresses that part well. And also, very nice, a 5.77 Snyder. That's really neat. Let me go show y'all that Snyder. If I'm correct, yeah, I think this was the one that was used at marksmanship competitions for a while, if I'm correct, up at some sort of a famous shooting grounds near New York City. It doesn't exist anymore, but I think that's where the Whitworth rifle came from as well. But these things were quite popular in target shooting, at the inception of target shooting. But these things are neat. Really, really cool gun that you have. And let's see here. Someone else said, let's see. Hold up 1 second. I'm trying to see here. Someone said I also had a 9mm Uzi. Wow, that's really cool. That's actually neat. I've shot a Mac 10 before, which was cool. But just the price of the machine guns keeps me out of them because you have to get the tax stamp and then the machine gun, and then you're looking at tens of thousands of dollars for one gun. And then it's also a money burning machine because every time you shoot it, you're wasting dozens of dollars in ammo. Especially even mag dump them. So let's see. Let's see. Hold up. Let's see here. Someone asked a really political question. 40-watt plasma rifle. Don't have one of those. Never shot one of those either. But maybe one day I will. Also, I saw someone else bring up a pretty cool gun, which would be worth a little bit of a investigation. And it is, in fact, a World War I gun. The Revelli Beretta. Let me go show this to y'all. Now, is that wild or what?
That's terrible.
This thing actually was a semi-automatic carbine from World War I. Very rarely used, but it was used by the Italians in World War I. A little bit bizarre, in my opinion, but it is neat because it was one of the first semi-automatics ever.
Are you an Italian? Bonjour.
Bonjour, commandeer. Oh man, but this thing is actually interesting. It is neat. But if you want to see something really cool, the RSC-17 from World War I is wild. It was a semi-automatic rifle that was actually issued in the hundreds of thousands to the French army towards the latter part of World War I, and it had an internal 3-round clip that it would fire from, but it was semi-automatic entirely for those 3 rounds. But once you ran out of those 3 rounds, you had to load in another 3-round clip. You can actually see it sticking out right there from the bottom of the rifle.
Aha, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, so it was a pretty cool gun. This actually was the gun, believe it or not, Matty, that inspired John Garand to design the M1 Garand. It was this rifle.
Well, that's fascinating. The M1 Garand turned out a lot better looking, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. Way better looking than this. And also, this thing had an issue with fouling and a whole bunch of other things. But beyond that, it is a really interesting kind of a rifle for sure. But anyways, with that, it is time for us to move on to some more questions. We don't want to get too dug in on that rabbit hole, but I do thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible, and we wouldn't be able to keep it running. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to none other than Gunfox, who puts in another $20 donation. And thank you very much, Gunfox, for, I believe, the 3rd support of the night. And that's very generous of you. He said Apollo 12, November 14th through the 24th of 1969, was the 6th crewed flight in the United States Apollo program and the 2nd to land on the moon. And Apollo 12 would have attempted the first lunar landing had Apollo 11 failed.
Thank you for the support, and that's also pretty cool. And look at this picture from Apollo 12, a good ways away from the lunar lander. That must have been bizarre to be on the surface of the moon like that, walking around. I always just find that to be impressive. And also, I gotta say, though, that their patch was honestly a little busted, though.
Yeah, really, it was. They took like what is that, like the USS Constitution, and made it gold. Honestly, that sounds like something that we'd have in the modern day if we had an old ship in today's world, a golden ship. That's right.
We're going to put 90 sails on it because it will look cooler that way. But beyond that, I do have to thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And also, very interesting thing to hear about Apollo 12. But still, a huge thanks to you once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible and keep it rolling to this day. And so a huge thank you to you once again. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Made in Canada 182, who puts in a 20 as well. And thank you very much, Made in Canada, for that support and being made in Canada. And it said, taking a family trip to British Columbia next week. I'm going to miss the streams, but I'll watch the daily videos and maybe give the LSA a quick tour of hotspots in BC, and specifically the Capilano Suspension Bridge in LLT, LSA.
And long live the Lee Spring Army. And I gotta say, Made in Canada, I hope you have a great deal of fun out there as my control room craps itself again. And I gotta wait for it to reload so I can follow along with that super chat and make sure to touch on the important things. And it's crapping itself again. But beyond that, 1 second, folks. I'm sorry here. Technical difficulties. Thank you, YouTube. But beyond that, I gotta say, very cool to hear of. And let's go take a look at the Capilano Suspension Bridge Park, which is right here And I thought it was going to be like a major suspension bridge. This is a smaller one, but that is actually really neat. That's like look, dude, this is like that place where they filmed the Star Wars movie where they were like on the planet, the forest moon of Endor or whatever. It looks just like that place. I wonder if it is.
It kind of does look like it's like the treetop forest house.
Yeah, you know, where they were like eating all of the stormtroopers after the battle was over and everything. You know, like that whole wild deal. But beyond that, I do have to thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you made in Canada, we wouldn't be able to look at such an impressive thing. And also, let's see, maybe give a tour of the hotspots of British Columbia. Well, there is Vancouver, which everyone knows of heavily. But there also is the Garibaldi Park, just north of the place. Look at it. It's just beautiful. It's really honestly like Washington State. But it's so beautiful. Look at it. The rolling green hills turning into stone-covered mountains of snow. It's just an amazing thing. Truly phenomenal. And it really is an impressive thing. Really, the natural beauty is what is the most impressive about British Columbia. And like the North Rocky Mountains Provincial Park. Look at that. Just beautiful.
Wow.
Beautiful. Truly amazing. And I got to thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to bear the difficulty of running this show. And so a huge
Scrappy-looking bear.
Man, that bear is just come out of the you know, it just came out of Hot Dog Man's place, and it's like, oh,
he said, "Oh man."
Man, I was about to make another joke, and I was like, I don't know if I should go with that. And you know, you could get someone complaining, writing to the studio. But still, thank you once again for support, Made in Canada 182, and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible and keep it running. So a huge thanks to you so much once again, and I hope you have a great deal of fun out there in British Columbia. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Wubba, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Wubba, for the $20 support and also helping to keep the channel running. I said, yeah, you tell him, Enforcer, tell him.
Hey, and I thank you for the support. And we're telling them, all right. It ended up costing us about, I think, like 9 subscribers today to do that. But that's fine, because I don't really care. I'm just getting, like, it's tiresome to watch bad decisions being endlessly made and nothing's ever done about it. You know, and it's not just from this administration, it's also from the last one as well. And for 3 years now, we just continuously watch, and it's like, hopefully there will be better days in the future. And those days never have come so far, and it's just getting more and more annoying to watch that unfold. So I got to thank you for the support, and I thank you for wanting us to tell it to them, because we did. And I've got to say that one thing I've gotten really tired of and really embittered about while running the show is heavily political people on the internet. People who are diehard Republicans and Democrats. Honestly, I'd say that they're probably some of the lowest like breeds of people in terms of intelligence that exist in the country. Quite truly amoeba-like intelligence levels found throughout most of those people. And it's just shocking, really, to see that. And to know that those people are really some of the large political engines that drive this country politically, and they have no sense, they have no intelligence. Like, you watch these goofy arguments between people like Hassan Piker and Ethan Klein, and you listen to both of them, and they're on two flip sides, and it's like neither one of them have good points. They don't even really know what they're talking about, and it's like listening to two poorly informed people trying to make points, and they don't even really know how to make the points. And those kind of people are the ones at the forefront of these kinds of discussions these days on the internet. And then people actually treat them like they're the forefronts of the discussions as well. It's just a shame. So I thank you for the support, and I thank you for wanting us to tell it to the folks, because we're telling it to them. And also, I got to say this as well. People don't get it. It's my show, folks. It's my show. I set the rules here. So, you know, when I set the no politics rule, I follow the no politics rule as I laid it out. So, you know, if people don't like it, you know, it's unfortunate, but there are many other channels out there. Or you can always go and spend the time and the effort and spend 70 hours a week to run your own show, so that way you can run it the way you like it. But nevertheless, we have been able to run the show here for 1,177 days, and it seems as that it's been pretty successful. It's usually in the top 100. So we'll keep it running. And I got to thank you for the support and wanting us to tell it to folks the way it is, on the straight and level. And so a big thanks to you once again, and we are on to the next one.
And our next super chat goes to Zyper Sniper 1, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Zyper, for that $20 support and also helping keep the channel running. And Zyper, being a longtime channel legend, he says, we should give Russia a final ultimatum and say to Putin, if a peace deal is not made within 1 to 2 weeks, then the West will support Ukraine and everything in on the table and maybe even get boots involved on the ground. The funny thing is, Zyper, we actually did make that ultimatum, and so did the European countries. The European countries are, I think, going to follow through. Maybe. I'm not really sure at this point. But the U.S. also made a similar ultimatum. But we have a funny way of making ultimatums and then backing out of it like we never said it, kind of like gaslighting. So we have a habit of that, and it appears to be we've done it again. So I'm with you. We should stick with it. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to agree as well. I think we should stick with that. And we already tried to do that, and we backed off on it because, the leadership is weak, to put it that way. But I do thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible, and we wouldn't be able to keep it rolling. So a huge thanks to you so much once again. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one here goes to none other than Jenna, last name Tolls, who puts in a $20 donation, and thank you very much, Jenna, for that $20 support. Sadly, I can't read the super chat, even though we may have our own thoughts about it. I will not read it because, of course, it does get very political, and that goes against the channel rules, so I will have to refrain from reading it. But once again, thank you very much for the $20 support and helping to keep the channel running. And as much as I'd like to weigh in, sadly, I can't. But Enforcer, what say you?
Thank you for the support. Sadly, we can't weigh in on domestic political topics. It's a little bit of an interesting thing. We got opinions on it. But we got to keep them to ourselves. All I can say is that on the analysis side of things, the United States is being portrayed weakly at this point, and it's absolutely pitiful. But I do thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible, and we wouldn't be able to keep it running. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to John Brewer, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, John, for the 20 as well, and also helping to keep the channel running. He said, my spaceship looks better. Take a question for the chat, please.
I have to believe you on that. I personally don't have enough money to own a spaceship or a couple of yachts. But I do thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running.
Work harder, and maybe you'll have a yacht too.
I spend my weekends in Miami.
You work hard. You work long and hard, young man. You may have a yacht too. Not really, but good to hope.
But anyways, where's that island, man, dude, with the little bridge? Oh, here's that island with the little bridge that went off, and it took 40 minutes just to get off that street. Oh, I hated Miami. Miami was terrible. What's it look like out here, anyways? Like, we never went out here because the traffic was too bad.
It looks like grid hell. Oh, build it where it's grids. Oh.
They call this place the Playboy Central, but this looks like a normal suburb. I gotta say, folks, yeah, Miami was not great. But beyond that, also, I like, Matthew, how all the billionaires in the skyscrapers get to look out on freaking Dodge Island and watch the container ships unload. It's like, wow, what a view, That's a great one.
They call it Dodge Island because that's what we do when we dodge regulations. We Dodge Island. Call me the Dodge brothers right here, not making cars. We're dodging regulations.
Man, it sounded like you stepped on a nail at the end part. You went, oh!
Honestly, I actually ran over my big toe with the chair. That actually was pain. I was trying to hide it.
Man, that was actually a pretty good one. What is this right here? What is this? Let's see here. Oh, someone went. Unfortunate. The Museum of Ice Cream. Look at that. I don't really get what the whole Museum of Ice Cream thing is about, actually. And also, what does pinatas have to do with... I don't get this museum here. I don't get it. But
this is like that pop culture joint.
Yeah, it's that goofiness you find in a place... What the hell is the Miami Bull? Oh, it's just so they ripped off the New York Bull and made one in Miami.
Oh, damn. That Megatron Bull.
Bro, that Techno Bull. Bro, they whipping out the techno bull. Watch out. But anyways, I do have to say thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. If it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make it possible. We wouldn't be able to goof around. We wouldn't be able to make this thing a reality every single night. Oh, folks, I gotta address this one. I saw it. I have to do it, Mandy. I had to do it. I cannot resist. Someone called Kurt Johnson said, you mock Trump every night. Your bias are in the open, and you show that every night. We made fun of Biden every night, every single night. Like, literally every night that he was president. Sorry that you're a cult worshiper of Trump, but I don't hold bars on the channel. Like, I don't hold punches. Like, we'll make jokes on anyone because that's a part of comedy. Like, sorry you're a cult worshiper, dude, and sorry that you act like the guy is you know, he's made of glass and, you know, you can't throw stones at him as far as jokes. But that's what we do. We did it on the last guy. I'm not stopping on this guy, okay? I don't care if you like it or not. So, you know, sorry about that, but we've been doing this for years. I'm not stopping. Back in the day, we used to get called fascist Nazi Republicans because we made fun of Biden. Nowadays, we get called snowflake liberals because we make fun of Trump. And the underlying theme is that the people like you who listen to that comedy are too stupid to understand they're just jokes, and they're jokes being made about the guy who's currently the president. And if Kamala was the president, we would be rolling jokes out like there was no tomorrow on Kamala, just like we are on Trump right now, because we did that with Biden. But folks like you are a little bit two-dimensional in the brain to understand that we just throw jokes out at everybody, and we don't hold bars in this channel because we truly believe in being politically neutral in every way. So that means that we don't hold back jokes on anyone. Everyone gets joked on. So, you know, take it for what you will, but it appears that a village lost their idiot, and hopefully you'll be able to find your way home after that ban. Anyways, with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to Greg Carrier, who puts in a $20 donation, and thank you, Greg, as well, for that support. He said, I love the non-political stance. I give all I can to support Ukraine against the Axis country. Thank you for the honesty. Good work on Good News Given, as always.
Hey, and thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And thank you very much for enjoying the non-political stance we take in this channel. We try our best to make sure that it stays that way, no matter how much the virulent, ignorant mobs don't understand. But I do thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And we love to know that people enjoy this channel and continue to support it so that way we can keep this thing running and make sure to keep the news rolling every single day. And so a big thanks to you so much once again. And we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Jose Diaz, another longtime channel legend. And thank you very much, Jose, for putting in that $20 super chat and also helping to keep the channel running yet again. And we do appreciate that. But Enforcer, what say you?
Thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because while you didn't throw in a comment, the support is massively appreciated and helps us to keep this channel running day in and day out. And so a huge thanks to you so much once again. And we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to The Planet is Dying, who puts in a 20. And thank you very much, The Planet is Dying, for that support. They say, I appreciate you both for always keeping it real.
And I thank you so much for the support, and I thank you for appreciating us, for keeping it real, because we try our best, folks, to keep this thing real each and every day. And I hope that we were able to achieve that again tonight. The Planet is Dying. So a huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And we have a $20 support from Andrew Kruger. And Andrew says, I've trusted the news, your news, for over 3 years, and it's typically the most reliable. And I'm glad I can finally donate to your jobs appropriately.
Hey, and thank you so much for the support, Andrew Kruger, and thank you for helping this channel to keep on running. And I gotta say, thank you for enjoying our channel as a highly reliable source of news. We try our best every single day, and I hope that today we were able to once again meet that mark on the significant news that we had. We actually reached a peak viewership tonight of 8.4 thousand people, which is still pretty impressive, because we didn't have everything going on in the world today. We just really had Ukraine going on, and so we still reached a pretty high viewership at that. But I do thank you so much once again, and I hope that does address that quite well indeed. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And we also have a poll to address. I said, what the hell is the problem right now? 50%, the most popular option, said politicians are to blame, while 35% said society is to blame. 6% said foreign nations are to blame, and 9% said nothing is to blame. So apparently everything's just falling apart for no reason. But anyways, I would say, generally speaking, I'm with the 50%. Politicians are to blame. And I know a lot of people will be like, oh, it's the big corporate donors that are to blame. But the only problem is the politicians are supposed to be passing legislation to regulate that sort of thing, to prevent that from happening. So it all roots back to the politicians. The politicians are derelict in their duties. That's the problem. And of course, the corporations, being businesses in a capitalist society, they are going to naturally lobby. It's not illegal to do that. It's a legal form, in my opinion, of bribery, and they engage in it all the time. That's just the way it works. And until that gets patched up by the politicians, the legislatures, then that'll always be a problem. So it basically comes down to greed within the government. That's the problem, the greed within the legislature. You elect one person, they'll say great things, and then once they get elected and they realize they have basically become tenured in that position to a certain degree, they just flip the script and start doing what every single other politician does, which is just go buck wild, basically, making as much money as possible. It's almost like their salary is just like an entry-level salary. Then they make millions on top of that from all the other corruption. But that's just the way I see it. But Enforcer, what say you?
I'd say, in short, politicians are to blame, as well as society to some extent, because some people are ignorant and they don't even know it. And so I hope that does address that well, at least the best I can, in my opinion. And of course, I gotta thank you all for weighing in on that one. And I also have to say that pretty much the entirety of the LSA, minus the people who went off tonight, which was maybe like 10 or 11 people in the chat, are pretty level-headed, and I gotta appreciate that greatly. It's one of the few places in the entirety of the internet and the world where you see a bunch of level-headed people all in one place. So we're pretty impressive thing all around that we've been able to cultivate a community like that over the years here. And so with that, I hope that does address that well, at least the best I can in my opinion. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next super chat goes to WF2U, who puts in a 20. And thank you very much, WF2U, for the support as well. And they said, maybe the money bag is going to give an offer to the Taliban to lease Bagram to the U.S. to use, with the condition of no attacks inside of Afghanistan. What a deal. And maybe another check to buy some U.S. equipment back.
Maybe. I wouldn't say it's off the table. We just don't even know what the hell's going on anymore, really. So I wouldn't say that's off the table. That might actually be a consideration. I would think it'd be dumb, but, that won't stop them, because that hasn't stopped anything so far, now has it? So with that, I gotta say, thank you once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible, and we wouldn't be able to keep this thing running. And so with that, I gotta say, thank you once again for support. Hope that does address that well. And with that, we are going to be moving on to the next one. And Timothy said it right. Smart people know they're ignorant. And yeah, that's true. Because I'll tell you, I don't know shit about math. And I don't know anything about nuclear science or how a nuclear reactor runs or anything like that. I'll just say that. But then ignorant people, which a lot of these highly political people are ignorant people, they act like they become experts on something because they watched a 1-minute TikTok. And it's like, man, they are stupid. They don't even know how stupid they are. It's like that's such a massive, all-encompassing topic. It's hard to become an expert on it. Like, I'm a fan of trains and the railroads. Does not mean I know everything about the railroads. Most of that stuff completely well beyond the tip of the iceberg for me. I'm at the tip of the iceberg on most things information-wise, and we present it well, but, that doesn't mean we know literally everything about everything in the world. And I'm fine with saying that, because that's the truth. And pretending like we knew everything in the world would actually be absolutely asinine. We'd practically be pretending to be charlatans at that point, if we were on that position. And so with that, I hope that does address that somewhat well, at least in my opinion. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next super chat goes to Jenna, last name Tolls, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Jenna, for the second support of the night. They said marmot and fly, but marmot is fat comb over diaper guy, and fly is drunk drunk guy on signal.
Let's see. I don't know if we can do that. I mean, that's kind of breaking the whole marmot and the fly segment. But I don't know. I don't know if we can do that one, because we'd be violating the whole Alan and the hot dog man being the fly thing, like it'd be breaking tradition.
Hello, Governor. Hello. Can I come in, Governor? Hello.
Yes, please come on in.
Oh, hello there, Governor. Hello there. Good evening to you. I don't know. I'm not really sure who the fat came over guy is with the diaper. I'm not sure who that is. It could be anybody. It could be. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I don't know what just came over me just there. But thank you very much for this time and this space for me to elaborate further while I was spitting. While my top teeth have been chopped off, it looks like. But terrible indeed. But anyways, what's the food supply?
Oh man, I have absolutely failed as a YouTube channel. Aw, man.
I'm sorry, who?
The hot dog man. You know who I am.
Oh dear, he's reverted back to his original style. He's actually gone back to being a hot dog man. He's not just a YouTuber anymore. He's actually a hot dog man full time now. Oh dear, that's a terrible damn shame. Oh dear me. I don't know if you ever got more customer service training, Governor. Oh dear, can you imagine him dealing with a rude customer? Oh dear me, fired in a minute. Oh my goodness. Not managerial material. Some say he's not even Harvard material. Oh dear, he's not even hot dog material. Oh my goodness, that's terrible. Oh dear.
Fly. What is your job at the gas station? Aw, man, I serve as the grease trap. Aw, man. Like, that's your job? Yeah. I'm a grease trap. Oh, that makes sense. But anyways, I hope that was something close to what you were looking for. But I do thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because it is folks like you who help to make this channel possible and help it to keep on running. So a big thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one, not the last one, our next one here goes to Just Plumber, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Just Plumber, for that $20 support. I said, I just started from the beginning of the stream, and thank you so much for speaking your mind, enforcers, and have a great night, everyone.
And thank you so much for supporting the channel and helping you keep on running. And thank you for enjoying us speaking our minds. We keep it as apolitical as possible. I'm not really a political creature. Don't really like politics too much. Don't really like most of the people who get too heavily involved in politics. But nevertheless, I do thank you so much for enjoying us speaking our mind, because it annoys me when I see decisions that are being made outside of America's interests, and these certainly are. It's disheartening to see, and it's even more disheartening to see that more foreign influence is just continuously being invited into the country. First, it was concerns that the last president was compromised by Ukraine and China. Like, that was the running theme. Now, the current president is just quite literally just being bought by the Qataris. It's like, I don't know how people aren't seeing that. And it's just really annoying to me that that's the case, because I feel like the largest and strongest country in the world shouldn't have our politicians being bought and sold like commodities by these smaller foreign countries in places like the Middle East or East Asia. That seems to me to be a little bit stupid. But beyond that, I say thank you once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to keep this channel running, and we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible. And you know what's funny, folks? I just gotta say this here. This is a little observation of mine, just a little one. Isn't it kind of funny how everyone said that the only reason I just want to say this, like speaking about the talking points out there, isn't it kind of funny how they said that Biden, the only reason that he was supporting Ukraine is because his son was on some sort of a Ukrainian company's board and he was getting kickbacks from that, and that was wrong. But then when we clearly see that Qatar is pretty much buying the favor of the president, and he's openly doing things that support Qatari interests, like allowing the U.S. to heavily invest in Qatar and providing them with military equipment, and also doing some of their diplomatic bidding in the area, like, for example, telling the Israelis to take it easy on Hamas and kind of giving up on the Houthis because of the Qataris' wishes. That's totally fine, but when the same accusations were made against the Ukrainians, then it was wrong. Like, isn't that a little interesting? Like, I would generally say, people unjustly enriching themselves from the position of president, no matter what country it's from or from where, shouldn't we be considering that wrong across the board, and also not have that impact our foreign policy decision making? Like, if it's not in our interest to support Qatar, or if it is, I don't really think that should be impacted by how much Qatar is financially giving money to the current president, or how much, say, the Chinese or Ukraine was giving kickbacks to the prior president and his family. Like that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff I don't like. But anyways, I hope that addresses that somewhat well, at least in my opinion. I like to put it out there truthfully, folks, just what I observe, because I don't like that kind of stuff, But anyways, with that, we are on to the next one.
Also, by the way, we just got the big breaking news right now that Ukraine just lost an F-16 fighter jet after it says an emergency situation unfolded on board, and the Air Force says the pilot successfully ejected and is now in the safe place. I'm not sure what that means, but apparently he's safe, wherever that may be. Apparently they have a designated the safe place, but he's there now. He made it out, thankfully, and also the F-16 is lost. It got destroyed, apparently crashed into the ground. So that's bad for Ukraine, because they may not be getting a replacement for that one anytime soon, based on what we're hearing. But Enforcer, what say you?
That's terrible to hear. Great to hear the pilot's safe, though, because that's really all that counts. And so with that, I hope that does address that breaking news well. Unfortunate to hear, however. But with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next super chat goes to Butchie777, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Butchie, as well, for being a longtime channel legend and also supporting the channel yet again. And then Butchie said, what happens to the jets that fall off a carrier? Are they just left at the bottom of the sea, or are they recovered in case there's any sensitive equipment on board that could be recovered by other countries in LSA?
And long live the Lee Spring Army. And usually they're just left behind. When an aircraft falls off the deck of a carrier or crashes into the sea, usually they just end up being left because there really isn't much to do about them at that point, especially when they sink to a certain depth, because recovery operations would be prohibitively expensive by the U.S. And so it's generally assumed that most countries wouldn't follow through because they'd first have to find the aircraft, and then they'd also have to recover it as well, which would take a decent amount of effort and also time. And it would allow us to respond to the area in time to stop any recovery operation. So we generally just leave them at the bottom of the sea. And so with that, I thank you for the support and help of this channel to keep on running, Butchie777, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we would not be able to make this channel possible, and we wouldn't be able to keep it running. And so a huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
Also, big shout out to Esteban Graves, who puts in a $10 donation, and also Ashley King, who put in a 10 as well, along with Alaska, who put in a 10 also. And big shout out to Esteban, Ashley, and Alaska for throwing in that support, and they do not leave comments, but we do appreciate it very much. And Enforcer, what say you?
I gotta thank a lot of y'all for the support and helping this channel keep it running. Y'all didn't throw in comments, but we are massively appreciative of y'all's support because y'all help us to keep this channel running day in and day out. And so a massive thanks to each and every one of y'all once again. And with that, we are on to the next one.
The next one goes to Nellicide, who puts in the 5 and says to do a poll asking what the U.S. should do, military force, diplomacy, or something in between.
And I thank you for the support, and that is an interesting poll idea. Matthew might be able to throw up a poll on that, but in my answer, it should be taken by a case-by-case basis, but for now, most situations require a much more aggressive approach. The only one that requires a reserved approach is the East Asia situation with China, which could be a little bit more reserved, at least for now, before while we move around our cards and get the good hand that we need to be able to start acting a little bit more aggressively in that area. But as far as the Middle East and Ukraine goes, I believe that we should be operating aggressively in both situations, in the best interests of our nation. And so with that, I hope that does address that well, and I thank you once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Long6722, who puts in a 5. They said, everyone wants to mine Afghanistan. That's why it's so important. China wants it. Canada wanted it.
Thank you for the support. And mining in Afghanistan would be pretty tough because the country is generally unstable to the point that it'd be really tough to conduct any successful commercial enterprises there. And that's why the country is pretty much just completely abandoned and forgotten about for the large part. It literally lives like it's in the Middle Ages. Like, let me see here if we can drop y'all down on a street view here. And what the hell? What the hell? What is this? Let me see here. About right here. Maybe that. Why are they just pictures of stores? Why can't we see outside? Also,
it's the clock shop.
The clock shop. Lots of... Oh, brilliant. Let's see here. And they also have phones. Nokias, in particular. Man, you know, back in the day, this guy had a lot of business for the Nokia phones. Let's see here. That's a picture of a shop. That's a picture of a shop. So do they not allow any pictures from outside of shops? Like, are you not allowed to do that around here? That's a shop. That's a shop. That was a shop. That's a shop. That looks more like the back rooms, honestly, here.
This is the something group here. This is looking kind of sketch.
Yeah, really sketch. This is literally the back rooms. This is like a liminal space right here. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Anyways, let's see if we can find some major city. Or something out there somewhere. Ah, yes. The rolling hill. Oh, look, there's an Afghan village right out there. So as you can see, they live in medieval style towns and villages. I mean, there's no electricity, no plumbing or anything. It quite literally is medieval living right there. So it's really hard to create an economically stable situation here because along with the feudal kind of living comes a feudal kind of a system where each region of Afghanistan is almost completely distinct culturally. And this area is going to be much more distinct than any other region in Afghanistan. And for that reason, you're going to see there's always going to be a decent amount of infighting in this area and instability as long as that continues to exist. So like you could make an argument that we want the resources in Afghanistan, but the truth is that it would take so much time to stabilize the country where any extraction could be done that it pretty much would never happen in our lifetimes, at least in my opinion. But I do thank you for the support and help of this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible, and we wouldn't be able to be here chit-chatting right now. And so with that, a huge thanks to you so much once again. Hope that has addressed that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Herp Derp NV, who puts in a 5. And thank you very much, Herp Derp, for that support. They said the U.S. current foreign policy is more. Whoa. Hold on. Let's see here.
Whoa, Jack. Whoa.
Oh, dear. Jack, I can't read this off. It's something about Will Smith and something. I can't read that one.
No.
But the last part, they said, anyway, can we get a hood review of 445 East 63rd Street in Chicago? Oh, you're talking about 63rd. That's the ops.
Man, ops up in
Not my
Chirac.
ops, by the way. Just make that clear. That's not my ops. I have nothing to do with that. But at the same time, though, that's somebody else's ops that I've been watching a documentary about that's on 62nd Street or something like that. That's the ops of 62nd Street.
Man, tell me where to find this place, man. Tell me the address again, man.
It's 445 Eastern 63rd Street. They're not from 63rd.
Let's just put in 445 Eastern. Not really getting a lot on that one. Let me just go to
Just put in 63rd Street in Chicago. You'll find it.
63rd Street in Chirac.
East 60. There you go.
Here we go. Let's see, where is this? Oh,
Down from Parkway Gardens. That's the O Block ops.
There it is. O Block, right there. And there's the Norfolk Southern Intermodal Yard. That's the only way I know this place. But let's see here. We'll just drop down on the street. Let's take a gander. Oh, overhead train. Oh, come on, don't throw me out. Let me go back down there. Hang on, folks. Yes. I see you know your judo well. Good one. And you, sir, are you ready to go down this street? How dare you, sir? Man, this is a rough place, actually.
There's been many killings down here because they're from 63rd, and they're nasty down there on 63rd, according to some people that live in O Block. So there's been a lot of killings over that.
This is where, like, the real gangster disciples or something are from.
Yeah, there's been a lot of gang wars that happen through here. It's been glorified like it's something to be celebrated or praised or something. Like this is like real good history right here. It's really just street violence, and it's really terrible. And it's not to be praised. But, you know, what is it? Cigarette blunts.
Cigarette blunts? What the hell is a cigarette blunt?
Oh, look, restaurant. They just have pictures of food. There's no words or anything. It's just like pictures, like hieroglyphics of food.
Gyro, burgers, chicken sandwich, wings, fried chicken, fried shrimp, Philly cheesesteak, cheese sticks, a Subway.
I doubt they're serving that wide variety in that one little spot.
Hell no, they're not. And also this says, why the hell does that look like an old phone company, man? I forgot the name of it. But like the old T-Mobile logo, it kind of looks like it.
It kind of does, really. Like, these little places sketch me out. Like, you always give me a little suspicious vibe, and like they might be up to something different.
Oh, hey, look, what is this right here? It's gone now. What's this notice? It is unlawful for any person to drink any alcoholic liquor on any public way or in a motor vehicle upon a public way in the city of Chirac. The fine is $100 to $500. Municipal code.
I thought it was a DUI.
Apparently around here it's just a ticket. So like man, it's such a hard part of town. What are the Rothschilds? Cut rate liquors, bro.
The Rothschilds, they're out here giving them extra liquor so that way they can flourish.
You know, I didn't know that this whole place was being propped up by the Rothschilds. It's actually a little new to me. Let's go further down the street. Yes. I see you know your overhead train. These overhead trains, man, make the place a slum, honestly. Like, I don't know whose idea was, yeah, let's build a giant overhead train through the area. It's like, that was a really, really dumb idea, actually. And I bet you the upkeep on that's pretty damn expensive. Oh, look, the yard is right here for them, too. So, Oh my God! Imagine, dude, being in the the overhead rail light rail system for Chicago, and you get to work here in the middle of O Block, north of O Block. You have to get on the train and then set it up for service and then run it. That'd be terrible. That'd be awful.
That would be terrible. Or it could be you interpret it to be you're in the presence of greatness because the greatest gang wars in the world have ever happened right here.
I'd pass on being around that kind of greatness. I'd humbly decline. Also, let's see here. Oh, what do we got here? Huh. All right. We got that fat boy food.
What the fat boy food?
Bro, spelled with a
Man, what the
PH.
Fat boy food. I don't think they're open anymore.
No, I don't think so, man. I think the fat boy ran out of business. And also, it doesn't even say eat here. It says play here. Like, what the hell were they doing in there, like, at Fat Boy Food? Let's see. And then we got King Drive Food Mart and Restaurant. Fish and chicken, Italian beef and gyros. No turn on red. So your ass is getting capped here. They told you that so that the hits could happen. You also have, I would not trust that medical center. Oh, man. Dude, what is this? Assange?
Well, I said Assassin's Warehouse or something at first.
Assange? I don't even know what the rest of it says. Vintage. Bro, no way that's a daycare. Oh my God, no way.
Good beginning, never end.
Bro, the story of O Block, good beginnings, but there's never an end. It's just hell after that. But goodness. Oh, look, there's the rail yard up there. Jeez, I'd hate to work. Oh, old-fashioned slums right here, folks, from like the 50s in Chicago. Wow, that is rough. Let's go further down here. Just spare railroad ties laying around, and tracks, by the way, free tracks. Get yourself some steel.
Oh yes, this is glorious here. This is glorious.
Yeah.
This is the gang culture. This is gang culture for you. It just it's not very good. It brings a lot of violence.
The Academy of Excellence. Here they teach you how to kapafu excellently. But let's see here, man. Honestly, this place is rough. Actually, this place actually looks like Birmingham, really. Like North Birmingham. Like it's very close.
Yeah, it is very close.
Let's travel through a little bit farther. So we got an empty abandoned building over here. You know, I actually saw a building just like, oh look, it's a traffic stop that will turn into a fatal shooting most likely here in this part of Chicago. But let's see, let's go down to Birmingham. I wanted to show y'all a place up here that actually was quite similar to that. Oh, let's see here. How the hell did I get up there? So you get off here and then you go over here. Yeah, right here. So this ought to be it. See how it kind of looks like O Block area, sort of, you know, with like the boarded up. Oh, actually, they didn't have the plywood on the building yet in 2019, but this thing was all boarded up when I went through recently. And there's like collapsed buildings. North Birmingham is a really, really rough place. Unbelievably rough. You'd be shocked at how rough it is. Let me, come on, little man, go down the street. Go down the street. There we go. Oh, man. The last time someone was through there was 2008. Kind of gives you an idea of how questionable the place is. And also, why is the street view bobbing and weaving? So here is, like, North Birmingham for y'all. Really, really rough place. Kind of like that area of Chicago. So, you know, I have firsthand experience to say that area of Chicago is pretty rough. Also, what is the National Pullman Museum? Is this like the Pullman factory for rail cars? I'm assuming it is. They made a museum for it? Like, the buildings aren't even there. They've, like, caved in.
All that's left was that commie-looking painting.
Yeah, hold up. This is all that's left of the Pullman factory. Is this right here. That honestly seems like a bit of a waste to make this a museum. I mean, most of it's gone. Look at this. They're holding it up with stints.
Yeah, they sure are.
Bro, this isn't even a Pullman car. This is like a facsimile, and a bad one at that. Like, oh yeah, this is a terrible museum. They're just what is this? What is? Oh, it's a painter. Okay, I was about to be, what the hell? Let's see. Oh, like a Pullman car. This is how the inside of them were. It's like, yeah, that's a rail car. That's a rail. Honestly, this is one railroad museum I'd pass on. I give it a hard pass here. Is there an actual railroad museum in Chirac anywhere? Um, let's see. There's a children's museum. There's some people out there who may be interested in that. Not me though. Like that. I don't know how the hell children have a history. It's like, you grow up, you become an adult. So I don't really know what the history is behind that. Is there a railroad museum in Chicago? I feel like there would be. But I'm not seeing one. Oh, look, it's Gary, Indiana, right here. I forgot, we're in Gary now, near U.S. Steel.
Gary, come home.
Have you seen Gary, Indiana?
Yes, I have, definitely.
Oh, it's like Bessemer,
Looks
really.
like Bessemer.
Yeah, it's like Bessemer. Like the worst places in the country, there's a comparable place not far from us here in Alabama, somewhere. So yeah, a little interesting with that. Honestly, this just looks exactly like Bessemer. And everyone's like, oh, Gary's terrible. It's like, bro, come down to Bessemer. It's free. And it's closer to you. Oh, look, man, they actually have a roundhouse here for, I think this is like a short line kind of a thing, too. But they actually do have a roundhouse here still and a turntable. How whack.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, they actually don't
It's
have
like
a lot of those.
Roundhouse kicking.
Let me see. The street view stops here. Let me see if we can see it from there, though. Oh, no, we can't. Actually, it's Canadian National over there. That's actually pretty cool. Really neat, actually. But look at all these rolling mills, Matthew. This is actually where a lot of America's steel is still made to this day.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, pretty neat. Toxic pollutants, plenty. Steel, a lot of it too. But there's no railroad museum around here, I don't think. There was this cool one that I found up here, Matthew, in the north of Alabama. And it was cool. It was cool because they had something unique. And let me see if I can show it to you. I think
the Santa train.
I think this here is like a Baldwin Lima something D something. I forgot what they call them. But there was a really cool one here that I saw, and I was like, no way. I was like, I can't believe they have one of these because it's actually quite rare. And let me see if I can scroll down and find it eventually. And somewhere we'll find it. Somewhere we'll find it. We'll find it somewhere, folks. We'll find it. We'll find it. We'll find it. Eventually we'll see it. I don't know if
Gary, come home.
Wait a minute. Is that one of the first? Oh, yeah, that's one of the first diesel electrics, actually. It's kind of neat. But I cannot find this thing, man. I cannot find this thing to save the life of me. So I'm gonna have to just pull it in. It's a GERF.
Trying to pull it in.
Let's see.
You pull it up.
Yeah, pull it up, anything like that. It's a Baldwin It's not the RF-16. It's General Electric's first attempt at a road switcher, which I forgot the. Hang on, I think it was EMD's. But this thing is the shark nose.
Yeah, it looks very sharky.
Yeah, I don't really like them. A lot of people liked them. I didn't. But let's see. I'm trying to think of the thing. It was either maybe it was at Chattanooga. Maybe I can just find it because I don't think I'll be able to remember the name right here. So let me see if it's here. Because maybe it's here. Because they have a wider fleet. So it's a really cool diesel. It actually will be worth the wait. At least for me. Because I'm interested in this stuff. Most likely everyone else isn't. But I'm going to give up on this because I'm not going to be able to find it. But it was a really neat little road switcher kind of a thing. And I just can't find them for the life of me. So I'm just going to give up on that and quit while I'm behind. So that way I'm not torturing y'all with trying to find this thing. That's not it. So, yeah, we'll give up. So, anyways, with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And the next one goes to Herp Derp NV, who puts in a $5 donation. And thank you. Wait a minute. We already read this one. I think we did. But thank you very much, Herp Derp, once again for the support. I forgot to put a red mark on it. But also, we have a 5 from Lacer314, who put in a 5 and said, I've agreed with everything you said tonight.
Hey, and I thank you for the support. I thank you for agreeing with everything I said tonight. I like to hear that. Thank you once again. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Craig Savarese, who puts in a 5 and says, considering how strong the resolve of the current administration has been on Russia's aggression, do you think they would honor and defend Taiwan?
I honestly would doubt it. I don't really think they would necessarily because they run their mouths a lot and they don't really follow through with any of the mouth running. So I personally doubt it a good bit. So with that, I hope that does address that well, and I thank you once again for the support. And I was also just told, Matthew, in the chat to check out the National Railroad Museum in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So let's check this out because this is the National Railroad Museum. Oh, dude, look at that! They actually have a British A4 Mallard. That's really neat.
The Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Isn't that cool, dude? Isn't that cool? I think it's the only A4 in America.
Wow.
That is neat. Oh, they have a I think this is a GG1 or a CG1, and they also have a big boy. Man, this is
wow.
And they have the Aero Train by General Motors, which was a mistake. They also have these, which I can't sadly tell what kind they are. Oh, they also have that looks like an Alco. Right here, I forgot the Alco like model name, but looks like an Alco.
They have plenty of hunks of metal.
A lot, kind of like cars, Matthew. They're like cars. But let's see, what else do they have here at this museum? They have the Railway Express van, which actually looks pretty busted, and they also have. Oh, let's see here. Oh, what do we have? It looks like the same. Actually, doesn't really look like they have a lot of stuff. I know that there is a Canadian National SW1500. I think that's pretty neat. That's actually pretty cool. But there's a big museum actually somewhere. I think it's the Pennsylvania Railroad Museum. Railroad Museum of Pennsylvania, I think is what it is. And they actually have some really cool stuff from the Pennsylvania Railroad. And this is one I want to see. Because the Pennsylvania Railroad, while I still love the L&N's, my favorite, the Pennsylvania Railroad had a lot of cool stuff that they had. And this museum has a lot of well-maintained stuff here. Along with some stuff that's beaters and, getting worn out. But I like the F units. What can I say? The F units and the E units, like this E9 here, are pretty cool. Who could dislike them, Matthew? Who could dislike them?
Honestly, man, these trains are driving me bonkers, man. I'm not gonna lie. It's like driving me up the wall.
Man, I'm telling you, man. I'm just trying to enjoy my life here, but all right, man. Anyways, with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Wyatt Logan, who puts in a 5. And thank you very much, Wyatt, for that $5 support. He said, hello there. I've been broke. How are you? And what's up, Matt? And as a kid, what made you start liking trains? Oh, that's Andrew, by the way. He said, what's your favorite and why? And are there better trains than US ones?
And I thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And I got to say, thank you so much for supporting the channel. We've been doing pretty good. I hate to hit you broke. And you don't have to support the channel if you don't want to. But I do thank you for that once again. And I'd have to say, what got me into trains, I don't know. I just grew up watching Thomas the Tank Engine, and trains made an impression on me. They're giant, they're loud, they shake the ground. I always found that really impressive, just the sheer power of an engine that can do something like that. So they've always interested me a great deal. And also just the fact that they're the most efficient form of overland travel. So that's why I like trains for the large part. And also, they just look cool to me. But it's kind of like how people like cars. I guess it's just kind of the same reasons, but for trains. But with that, I hope that does address that well, and I thank you once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And you see, folks, people do like talking about trains because we have another super chat about trains. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Sligoy the Sauce, who puts in a $50 donation. And thank you very much, Sligoy the Sauce, for that $50 support. He said, did you guys know the largest train museum in the States is in Union, Illinois?
Well, I gotta say, I didn't know that until right now. Look at that, it's the Illinois Railway Museum. Would you look at that, fellas? What goodness, that actually is massive. What do they have? Streetcars. That's actually a really nice one. And they have the Frisco 1630. What do you know? You can tell because it has the Frisco little emblem on the front. That's pretty cool. They also have an F unit and what appears to be some kind of a Jeep, maybe a Jeep 20. And look at that. They have a Berkshire, I believe. That's pretty nice. And a snowplow. This is actually a really... Oh, look at that. Can't tell you what... Maybe a Dash 8, maybe. Oh, cool. They actually have some of the early EMD FT units.
That is neat.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that. And they even have some of the Zephyrs, which I personally am not really that big of a fan of, but they're still iconic and an early part of electric diesel American history. Really cool. Wowzers. And they have a toaster, and they have another streetcar, and they have this F unit from the Chicago Northwestern Railway. Whack. And they also have another F unit from Burlington Northern, and they also have a Jeep from The Rock. The Rock. Let's see here. And what else? Holy moly, folks. They got everything. They got everything, I tell you. Let's see here. I'm trying to... Oh, that's a poorly maintained Centennial, but still cool. What a neat collection. I gotta thank you for sharing that with me and supporting this channel and helping it to keep on running. Sligo is the sauce. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to drive Matthew freaking mental. Because now that we were talking about trains as a part of Super Chat, we are bound by the law of this channel to talk about it. So with that, a massive thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well, in my opinion. Oh, look, it's one of those freaking Baldwin abominations. This thing's terrible, by the way. Everyone hated one when they bought one. And that's why Baldwin went bankrupt, folks. It was this one right here, actually. This one, officer, that's the one. Oh, look, junk. We love junk in large amounts. But still. Oh, look, it's a critter. Hi, look, man, it's a critter. Look at that.
It's a critter. Look,
It's a critter. It's a critter. It's called that because it is what it is.
They're putting them on tracks, but they're never leaving.
They check in, but they don't check out. But look at this. Look at this Burlington Northern U28 or a U30. It's actually a U30C.
Look at that.
Look at
It
that.
revs up, but it doesn't rev down.
Man, he's really losing the final here, folks. He's losing it. But still. Oh, look. It's a car.
Look, it's a car.
Man, that's neat.
Oh, it's a Ukraine train.
Ukraine train? Where? Oh, that's Chicago Northwestern, Matthew. That's actually green
okay.
and yellow. You liar! I was actually like, what? I was like, hold up, what? But that didn't exist. That didn't exist. Matthew was seeing things. He's getting delusional around here, seeing this many trains. It's driving them crazy, folks. Driving them up the wall. Anyways, with that, I do thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible and keep it running. And so with that, we're on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Craig Savarese, who puts in a 5. And thank you very much, Craig. He said, I haven't seen any marmots lately. And on YouTube, it's all about marmots.
We actually had a Marmot in the Fly segment earlier tonight. And I got to thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running because we did have a Marmot segment tonight. We did have it. And we got to see Alan the Marmot and the Fly. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Long6722 once again, who puts in a 5 and says Chinese and the Taliban government are working on a massive project in Afghanistan to mine the world's second largest deposit of copper already.
Damn, that's a shame. You know, honestly, I think we ought to just release the crackheads of America in Afghanistan. We could get that copper lickety split. But beyond that absolutely off the wall joke, which I don't know if people are gonna laugh at that one or not. I would have to say that's very interesting here, and I thank you for sharing that because I personally have not heard or been apprised of that situation at the moment. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Plazoth, who puts in a 2 and says LSA.
And LSA Plazoth, and I gotta thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to be here right now. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Horror Realm, who puts in a 2 and says, I have a Savage Recon 2.0. Check it out. Very nice.
A Recon 2.0. Well, we could check that out. A Recon 2.0.
2.0, Jack.
2.0. We want that 2.0. Let's see. A rifle. Savage Arms Recon 2.0. So it's an AR. Not a bad looking one either.
Nice AR.
Nice AR. Kind of reminds me of an EMD-FT. I'm just kidding. Man, he's about to cry.
Oh,
Oh, yeah? But still, beyond that, I do thank you for support and helping this channel to keep it running. I hope that does address that quite well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And with that, folks, it is now time to move on from our super chat questions and onto our live chat questions. It's that time of the night. And as you can hear, I'm cracking. My voice is cracking too. It's the pressure. It's the strain. But we have tonight our Morse code decoders of the stream. Cliff Simonson, Mark Hodges, Earl Benu, Kevin J., Paul Schultz, David Millsaps, Roy Fluffins, Arabelle Garbo, Johnny Duggan, Norm Pritchett. They said the Morse code says Russia is once again running circles around us, and the U.S. is just letting them. What a shame.
And and that's the sound of money. Got that done on the nail. That was the Morse code message of the night. I gotta congratulate y'all massively for getting that correct time and time again, because you continue to show us that the Elite Spring Army Signal Corps will never get the Morse code message wrong. And so with that, a huge congratulations to y'all once again. And it's time for us to get on into some of those interesting questions of the night. And so with that, what do we got, Matthew? What do we got?
So this one goes to Dapper Dragon, who says, did you hear about the independence of Balochistan?
We did hear about the declaration of it actually yesterday, and we now hear that there's an armed insurgency happening in that area of Pakistan. So yes, we did. Yes, we did indeed. And so I hope that does address that quite well, at least the best I can. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Andreas Scout, who says, have you heard anything about the military aid going to Ukraine, or was that a bunch of hot air from the U.S. president?
It sounds like it might have been a bit of hot air, because now we are once again backing off. So I would say probably hot air, at least from what I know. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, at least in my opinion. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Jeff Veeder, who says, are the Saudi military shooting down the Houthi missiles?
Yeah, not the ones directed at Israel. The Saudis don't shoot those down, but they shoot the ones down that are directed at them if they can. And so I hope that does address that the best I can, at least in my opinion. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one is a super chat that goes to Octavian Timorsanu, who puts in a very generous €10 donation. And thank you very much, Octavian, for that $10 support. He said, honestly, I think Zelensky should have shown up at the talks in Istanbul just to say that I see Putin didn't show, too afraid, I guess, and the meeting's pointless, and then walk out like a boss.
That would have been pretty funny, honestly, Octavian. I think they should have done that, but he's got more important things to tend to, like trying to get support from the Europeans, because they might be the only people that Ukraine can count on in the end, maybe. But beyond that, I do thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, Octavian Timorsanu, we wouldn't have been able to be around and keeping this channel running. And I got to thank you so much for once again for being one of our Romanian members of the Elite Spring Army and continuously supporting this channel and helping us to keep this thing running. And so a big thanks to you so much once again, and we are on to the next one.
And we have a live chat question from John Combest, who says, could the EU purchase ammunition and arms from the U.S. to then deliver to Ukraine?
The EU could. It's just that still would have a lot of red tape behind it, and who knows if there would be any flip-flopping or waffling on that, and if it would be difficult to get it, and all that. They could, but it could end up being a lot more difficult than originally, at least, believed to be. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, at least the best in my opinion. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Rick, who says, how long will Ukraine's current war supplies last, given their re-up by the U.S. has been stalled?
I would say that it probably would be able to last, I don't know. Maybe about a year at this point, I would assume. About that long, but it wouldn't be incredibly long. And so that, I hope that does address that the best I can, at least in my opinion. And with that, we are on to the third to last question of the night.
And this one goes to Jeff Alley, who says, is Ukraine making their own bombs for all the drones?
Yes, they generally make all of their own bombs in-house, on their own, for the large part. So the answer to that is yes. And so with that, we are on to the second to last question of the night.
And this one goes to A Million Bands, who says, do you think that Russia will strike Kyiv with their ground forces or a heavy bombardment or a nuke on the summer offensive?
I think it would just be a ground forces offensive. A nuclear weapon is highly unlikely, and air bombardments, of course, are par for the course these days and pretty much a standard sort of thing. But it would be a ground offensive from what we would know. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the final question of the night. And so who is the last person to put in the lucky last question of the night?
And this one goes to Rosalie Swolman, who says, approximately how many countries has the U.S. invaded in our history?
Quite a good many of them, actually. Let me go pull up a map. Countries, U.S. invaded map. Let me go get one. Yes. Yes.
These are all of the countries that we've gone to war with on a map.
Oh, heavens.
Oh, great heavens. It's quite a large number of them. But at one point or another, we've pretty much gone to, well, we actually have never directly gone to war with France or most of Africa. Only the countries that are in dark red we've gone to war with directly. The other ones we just kind of fought on their soil for the large part, but against someone else. So that's your answer right there for the large part. That's the answer. But you ought to see the map of the countries that the UK has invaded, because it quite truly is everyone. That's the countries that the UK has invaded. So it's quite literally everyone in the world. Isn't that crazy, folks? Like, the British were literally everywhere.
Man, and also Germany, they've invaded quite a bit themselves, honestly.
Actually, it's not that many, really, compared to.
What are you talking about?
Let's see here. That's the extent of it right there.
I mean, you gotta admit, though, that's some work.
That's some work, but when you compare it to the British that went overtime and literally did the whole world, not just Europe, it's honestly child's play. You know what I mean?
Man, they did everybody.
Bro, they did everyone over. Let's go look at France.
Tell you what.
Let's see here. These are all the countries that France has invaded. What the hell, Kenneth Cooper laughed?
I just thought of a joke that I really don't know if I can repeat on air or not. Yeah, I guess you could call Britain. Let's see. I don't know if I can say that.
I don't even know what you're trying to say to let you know if you can or can't. Like, honestly, like, bro, you're doing like.
I guess you can call Britain a war hoe.
What?
I was gonna say something a little bit more brutal than that, but I just sort of like tamed it down a little bit.
Dude, Britain's going around, man. You just got some British guy showing up wearing like a colonial era pith and a red uniform with a rifle, caked in sunscreen. Hello, Governor. I'm here to kill you. It's like, man, it's like, bro, it's like they went around everywhere. I mean, I'm telling you, man, they just like, dude, when you live on an island where it's raining all the time, and you know, it's there's no spices, it leads you to do things and crazy things. Like, it's like it's taking over the whole world at some point. But let's see. Let's see. Someone said they really didn't like the weather in the UK. Yeah, they didn't. But still, I always get a kick out of this map because this is actually the most global map there is. Britain has actually invaded more countries than any other nation in history, believe it or not.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so the ones in blue are the ones they didn't invade, and that was it. The rest of them have been directly involved in some kind of a British war at some point. So a little bit fun with that one. And you know, what do we say, folks? What do we say? And also, by the way, you know, let's go check another country. The USSR. That's their map.
Oh, you bloke.
But you see how the rest of the world isn't red? like Britain. It's like, man, dude, Britain was putting in that work, honestly. I respect them for the grind, just for the fact that they did that somehow. But anyways, also, Marie Alissé said, do you know that Germany had a colony in Namibia? Yes, they did have a colony in Namibia. They also had one in Tanzania, which was also a German colony. And then the Democratic Republic of Congo was Belgian, because nobody wanted it. So everything up here was British. This was Italian. This wasn't. Everything down here largely was British, and then everything over in West Africa was French. And then there was also a little bit of Portuguese Africa and Mozambique. But yes, I did know that. Yes, indeed. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that quite well. And Matthew, wasn't that the final question of the night right there?
It was the final question of the night.
And so with that, it is time for us to round out this show for the night. I have to thank you all incredulously for watching tonight. We had a peak viewership of 8.4 thousand people here. Truly impressive. And I also have to say that 55,000 people have watched this show before it ended. And I have to thank you all quite impressively for watching this channel tonight. And I hope that you all have enjoyed quite intensely. If you all have, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because we will be back with our silly antics and news and ranting tomorrow. And so many people always enjoy the ranting. They truly do. And so with that, that, thank you all so much once again for watching, and we will see you all tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Time to cover the next 24 hours of the news from around the world. And so with that, good night, good luck, take care, stay safe, and Slava Ukraini, and long live the Lee Spring Army. The Lee Spring Army will never die.
And thank you all, Governor, for joining us all tonight on this wonderful day of the War News stream. And we'll see you all tomorrow midday for the short war video if there is enough news to cover. And also on the stream once again tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern to cover the rest of the news happening throughout the day. But thank you all for joining us once again. And of course, Slava Ukraine, Heroям Slava. Get some rest and good night.